Ah, such a cozy sound. Such a cozy sound to see. Or cozy song to hear right now. Very cozy. Hello, everyone. How we doing? Hey, there's our guest. So cozy. So cozy. How we doing, everybody? Doing good. Let's look at each other. Let's say hi. Let's say hi on camera real quick. Hey, everybody. How's it going, everyone? How's it going? Are we doing good today? I think we are. It seems like we will be. The reaction from the chat is pretty good, pretty good. Guest is already in the chat. That's fun. That's good. I'm glad to know guest is ready. How's it going, everyone? How we doing? How we feeling? Let's see if people come in here pretty soon. It's been a while. It's been a little bit of a time. It's been a bit, but guess what? We are here. This is our first one in the new year. We're ready. We're gonna have a couple. We're gonna have a couple guests lined up eventually. How's it going, everyone? Bienvenidos. Gracias. We are here today with a really cool guest. You see him in the chat right now, and you may be wondering, oh, Serk, who's Serk? Well, the thing with Serk is he's kind of one of the most active Mexican representatives for Smash commentary in the U.S., which is weird to say. He's a bilingual commentator. You've seen him a lot in a lot of American tournaments, but he has a great representation also in Mexico, where he's from. It's funny because I think at this point I've seen and heard him. Is it weird? Kinda. It's kind of weird because I think I've seen and heard him more in SoCal and U.S. tournaments rather than Mexican tournaments. So I think he's becoming more of an American commentator than he is a Mexican commentator. So I think that's kind of fun. You've seen him in a lot of different places. He's actually what's crazy. He's I think he was the first Mexican commentator at SmashCon or Supernova, however you want to say it. Because he has that background, he brings a lot of that international flavor into the scene and into this commentary. Again, you've seen him all over the place. He is one of the goats. Truly one of the goats. And again, as a bilingual commentator, breaking a lot of glass barriers, and with that language barrier, so to speak, and he's able to have that great crossover appeal, and it's really awesome to see and hear out in the world. So we've introduced our guest a little bit. Let's see if we can actually get him in. Let's see. Is our guest ready? Is our guest formally ready?
I'm ready.
Hey, our guest is ready. They're taking a little bit of time showing up on camera.
On camera, right?
Yeah.
I see what it is. 1 second, I'll fix that.
Don't worry about it, man. We got you, brother.
That should do it. Oh,
But you're upside down.
Okay, 1 second.
Chat can't see this, but you're upside down.
That's part of the bit. 1 second. I can fix it, I promise. All right, I'll fix it in a second. In the meantime, how you doing? How's everybody?
I'm doing great, man. I just realized I think we have the same microphone.
We do. Yeah, we do. We got the Wave 3 for the win. I love it.
There you go. The Cat 3 is the best one to get.
Yes, sir. Is it fixed?
No, you're still upside down on my end.
Let me see. What about no? Still. Ooh, interesting. Let's try one more time.
Let's see it. Let's see if we fixed it.
It's not.
Nope, still upside down.
All right,
It's the fun part of life.
I promise I'll fix it. It's just I just need a little bit of extra time. You can ignore that I'm upside down for a second while I fix it.
That's funny. That's funny. It's good stuff. You know what? Let's actually let chat see what you look like right now.
Okay.
There you go. Hi, chat. Look, he's upside down.
Okay. Sorry about that.
That's funny. That's fun times, man. Are you using the OBS webcam?
I'm trying to set that up right now. Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say, when you do that, you can just flip it afterwards. When you have that be the virtual webcam.
All right, let's try that. I gotta start visual camera. Might take a bit actually, because I don't think. A ver, let me try one more time. Sorry about that,
Nah, man.
boys and girls. I apologize for the technical difficulties. Usually, I have it all set up on my stream, so it's like not an issue.
Yeah.
But right now it is.
There you go.
Fixed it.
Right side up. There we go. There we go. We're there.
we're
We
back.
did it, chat. We did it. We're here.
I still need to fix a couple things, but it's fine. We can work with this.
We're good enough. We're good enough. How's it going, man? How you doing? How you feeling?
Going well. I mean, it's been a very interesting day, if I'm honest with you.
Oh, really?
A little tired, but I'm feeling very excited, very happy.
I'm glad, man. I'm glad, man. If you get a little tired, you gotta be like one of me. Have a monster off camera.
No, I can't do that. I can't do that. If I do that, my what is it? A hyperactivity disorder just flares out. You know, it's crazy. So I can't.
How about an extreme vive 100?
No, I'll just have water with this is bueno. That's a good one.
I took this to a podcast I went to, Bolt.
Okay.
So we got that. I got the,
Okay, nice. I do not do energy drinks. They mess me up.
I'm dead inside because of the fact that I worked the worst schedule for a very long time, and I need caffeine just to be even, right?
Okay.
Just to be at like a normal level. And like I probably need like 400 milligrams of caffeine just to really feel anything, which is bad. Okay. That's like the upper limit of what's recommended for like just overall existence. But that's the fact that I kind of need that sometimes just to be at a base level, it's like, oh, this is bad. And then having to live in a capitalist organization, the economy makes everything worse.
True. Yeah, I usually don't need energy drinks. I tend to fend off for myself pretty well, even in super exhausting days. But I just need those power naps or just chilling a bit in the couch, and I'm good to go once again.
Oh, hell yeah, man. I get you, man. Today's been a very strange day because I don't normally wake up early on my days off from work, but I had to, and it's like, oh, God, why do I have to do this now? And then I hear the alarm, and I'm like, why? Cruisin's in here. Hey, how's it going?
Crimson, Abril, Diego. Crimson is Guillermo. He just doxed himself.
Oh, doxed. There you go, man.
Yeah, they're good friends of mine. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you guys. Love you.
Thank you for coming by, everybody. How's everybody feeling? Y'all feeling good in their chat? Yeah. ¿Sí o no?
Sí. It's not my son. He's not my son. He's just my what is it?
Tu nieto?
No, I'm not that old. I am old. I'm not that old.
No, brother, trust me. I think I'm older than you.
I don't think so.
You look good for your age, but I think I'm older than you. You're like what? 31? 33? Okay, yeah. So we're this.
No, wait. ¿Cuántos años tengo? I
91?
think I'm 33. I'm 33 this year.
91 o 92?
92.
92, okay. 91, Abril.
Tú eres del 91? Okay, so yeah, you're older than me. It's not a lot.
Just smidgen. Just barely. Fellows, femmes and thems, how's it going? We are here with Serk. I gave a quick intro if you didn't see them already or didn't hear it already. We have our guest right here. Again, probably one of the... it's funny, you are our second international guest.
Okay, nice.
close to us, and yet you're our second most international guest. Our first one
All right.
was Azura, actually.
Okay, nice. Sura, that's my goat. That's
Oh,
my goat for sure.
it was funny. I told him and Momo that whenever they come back to SoCal, I'm gonna take them to a place called Angeles Tacos up in Silmar, Silmar in the valley, and they have this huge potato that they put, like the cheese, that carne asada, and everything.
Papa asada.
There you go. That's what's
Papa al horno, something like that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I was like,
baked potato, basically.
So huge, so big. Like,
nice.
I don't know why they give you 6 tortillas with it, because like that's so much potato, you can barely finish it. It's like for 2.
Right. Nice.
And we're talking about American portion for 2.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Where is that? Like, is that in what part of SoCal?
So that is in the San Fernando Valley.
Diego, Los Angeles.
San Fernando Valley. So like that's probably about
even further up.
Yeah, we're probably looking about como media hora norte de Los Angeles.
Los Angeles, okay.
Yeah,
so it's not that super far. Yeah.
No, it's not that bad. I think the closest local from the San Fernando Valley, like towards like the LA area, I think might be Shark Tank. Because I think I want to say Shark Tank is like in Pasadena or something like that.
That's good reference. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to say that's in. I want to say. So if you take Pasadena, go and take the 210, and you go northbound, you'll probably hit it in about 20-ish minutes, give or take.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it's a great place. And this is I'm gonna ask this later on about like your opinion about like different Mexican food over here, because from being from the motherland and whatever.
I've had tacos. I've had tacos in many countries and many places, and it's something that I enjoy doing. Like, okay, how are you representing our food? And it's always nice.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I won't get too ahead of myself.
we'll talk about that later. Brother of mine, I wanted to reach out because I want to get to a bunch of different stories from all over the scene. All of our commentators, all of our controller modders, our artists, and everyone, because a lot of our folks, we're so much bigger than the top 1% of the Smash scene, and they will always have their stories being told, and and their spotlight, right? Like everyone's gonna know what's going on with Spargo. Everyone's gonna know what's going on with Hungry Box. Everyone's gonna know about the Mangoes of the world, and Eddie Mexico and everyone, right? But well, it's funny I say Eddie Mexico, but that's because that's kind of why I want to make sure that I want to get as many different types of guests as possible, because
that makes sense.
Being from another country and coming and traveling, not just throughout Mexico, but also here in the US, you definitely have a unique experience when it comes to being a part of the Smash scene and seeing its international influence throughout what you do, what you see, and how you kind of interact with the scene and how the scene interacts with you. But before we kind of like get all the way over there, and I think it's kind of funny that I bring up like Eddie Mexico because of this, because like even though Eddie Mexico is like one of the bigger names in Melee, he's relatively unknown by comparison. You have Eddie Mexico, you have Stango, and those are kind of like the two people out of like Melee scene that like most people kind of understand. But overall, like on a grander stage, not everyone is really going to know who they are. And I think it's kind of important for stuff like this to happen so that we can kind of like hear about it and know about those kinds of experiences. All this to kind of start with, man, I want to know where you come from in the scene. Like, how did you get your start? Where did the influence of the Smash scene come from? And kind of the story of this is my introduction to what it is, but how I actually got my start with being part of the actual scene kind of idea. And I really want to ask that question with the very likelihood that the majority of the people who are going to be are watching this aren't from Mexico, and the majority of these people are coming from the US. So I really want to make sure you have that in mind when you explain your story.
Right. So I think this is something that I don't reprimand myself, but like I reaffirm constantly is that I joined too late, or maybe a little too late. When I started to take a look into the Smash competitive scene, especially the online section, the community side of it, rather, I was 24 years old. I was already pretty old for the standard, you know. It was right at the end of Smash 4, actually. It was already dying. I mean, by then I was extremely proficient. Cloud as well. So it was like a weird place to start because everybody knew each other and everybody was extremely young. I mean, if you take a look at the top players, Spargo is just 19, something like that. He was 14 or something, maybe even less.
I think it was 12 when first
like
people first started
everyone,
hearing
like
about him.
Waka, Alan, these every top player from my region, from Baja California, Tijuana specifically, they were pretty young. So there was already a big disconnect. So I was already working. I was already like trying to live on my own, and I was rather new to the city as well because I just moved for work. I am
Dino
old.
Serk.
Yeah, I'm old like that, like a dinosaur. So when I joined, I started at the end of Smash 4. The meta was there. I was not that good, and I couldn't find a place to like fit, right? Then the pandemic hit not too long ago, and that's when I started like, okay, I'll give it a shot at streaming, you know. So I started streaming. I started doing my own games, Zelda for the most part, and Smash, of course, because it's something that I love. When that happened, I mean, Ultimate was pretty well off already. I mean, we've had good stories. I wasn't a commentator when Ultimate came out. I was just starting to compete and trying to get the grasp of the community side of things. But I was already listening to commentators from the United States. Some are not with us anymore. Some of them not with us, but they were like big influence for me. And I was also watching Rainbow Six Siege. Their commentators are extremely professional. Like they're all suited up and they're like very analytical. They know their stuff. So I always looked up to that. That was my standard. This is gonna sound like a bit of a jab to the Mexican scene, but when I joined, or when I started taking a look at what we did over this side of the border, I didn't love it. Like it felt unpolished. Like they had fun, they were doing great. I mean, people had great energy, but it felt unpolished. And me coming from that background, I was like, dude, they're doing clean stuff, you know? And I think that's what we need as a community in order to stand out or to hold a candle, you know, like get close to what the United States had, which admittedly is still pretty important, you know, pretty relevant. So when I started, it was like, okay, I know what I need to do. I'm going to start hosting my own tournaments, my online tournaments. This was during the pandemic. Not, I don't think I'm doing the XTR, Crimson. I don't think so. Maybe, I don't know.
We'll find out.
That's a good story.
We'll see where it takes us.
So
To be fair, I don't think I'm going to ask you about Almo and the PRD like I said I was going to.
Cállate. So I started doing my own tournaments and I started like commentating them myself. These tournaments were like 6, sometimes 8 hours long because I sucked at TOing.
Well, you're also like streaming it. You're streaming it yourself too. You're streaming, commentating, todo.
Todo. So it was hard. I mean, I had people helping me, but in the end, it was me doing the front face of everything. So it was tiring. It was 6 hours of constant speaking all by myself, and this helped me like to get to get good at it, like slowly, progressively. I started polishing myself, noticing where I flacked. Of course, I had a couple. I could be lenient with myself, knowing that I was doing everything right, but I tried to be objective about it. So yeah, that's how we started. Escape from Lilacs were the tournament series that I held. I think I did pretty well. I started reaching out to Mexican competitors, like proficient Mexican competitors, to like try to draw people in to those tournaments. and that's how I started like doing commentary in English, which is, I guess, ironic since I'm
Yeah,
Mexican.
that's kind of funny, like hearing that, because you would think, being from your
See,
homeland, you'd be doing it in your native language. Like where did you learn English? Did you like learn it in school?
see,
Did you go international? Did you like
no,
spend
no,
time in the US or anything?
no. I've always
The
lived
opposite of
in
what happens with families here, que le mandan a México para vivir como
sí,
2, 3 meses para que
sí,
aprenda el
para que
idioma.
aprenda, chamaco. Sí, not really. No, I've never had the opportunity to live in the States. I'm
He's
not
an
an
Oregon
Oregon
boy.
boy. No, no, that's not true.
Secret anchor baby born in Oregon.
No, I had no, I had a family member, a relative, living in Oregon in Springfield. So we planned annual visits, and since my grandfather didn't know Spanish, like we had to like learn English so that we could speak to him. So my grandma, Mexican grandma, married an army veteran from the States, and she lived in Oregon with him. So yearly, we took a trip and we went there to visit them. And nobody would speak to Grandpa because everybody was speaking Spanish, you know. So they kind of hammered in the fact that we had to speak with him. So that was always a good motivation to polish, to keep practicing it. And yeah, how I learned it, it was mostly public schools. English in public schools is not that great. My mother was smart enough to like put me in private classes as well, so I could like refine it a little bit. But most of my English and the polish that I have with it is via online gaming. Basically, I always hung around with American people in English, typing in English, speaking in English, and this basically helped me like take it to a level that it's not only organic, but it's also like native, you know.
Yeah.
So I always try to keep myself in that loop. And when I started streaming, my streams were like forcibly in English, right? Of course, if I had people in chat speaking Spanish, I would address them in Spanish. But for the most part, the way that I practiced and polished and kept my English in good shape was forcing myself to speak English via my streams. So that's basically how I did it.
That's kind of again, it's funny that like the how that personal part of your life brought you to set yourself for
See,
set yourself up to be able to cross those barriers really quickly, because the idea of having international individuals whose native language isn't English and to like either forcibly learn and try to communicate, it's a massive struggle, right?
see,
So like if we
it is
took,
hard.
yeah, and if you take someone like Azura as an example, his native language is English. So the fact that he can go throughout Europe, come over here, and it's whatever, he can insert himself into the Mexican scene as well on the English broadcast very easily,
Right.
as opposed to the other way around, where like if we were to get oh god, like let's say like someone like Pixel, if we tried to bring them over and try to throw them on an English speaking stream, it could be done, but there's a little bit of that handicap, right?
See?
Right. So
You gotta
there's-
know the market. That's
Exactly.
the thing. Like, it's not just like, oh yeah, I speak English. No, you also need to know how to convey feelings, sensations, emotions, ideas, and it's hard if you don't know how they think. You can do it, and they'll understand, but they won't feel it because it won't feel natural to them, you know. And that's the hard part. And that's something that I try to not hammer in, because it's not up to me. Like it's not something that I need to impose on people. But whenever someone here in the Mexican scene asks me like, "Hey, how do you do it? I want to commentate in the States," it's like, yes, you speak English, but do you speak their English? You know, how would you make yourself understood if you don't have that connection to them? And it's hard. It's really hard to do it, and it
Yep.
is certainly a barrier that it's incredibly steep to break. Hard to
Yep.
break.
Talking does not equal commentating, correct?
Timon.
Exactly. And again, and I think that's part of why, like, I say that, like, you were able to break a lot of those, like, those glass ceilings or those barriers relatively quickly because
Little.
of that.
Hmm.
And for someone like me, it's interesting because, like you, I came into the scene relatively late, right, in
Mm.
Smash in general. By the time I started, like, trying to be interacting with it, pandemic had already been started, right?
Right.
Like, I started getting into Smash when it got announced. I was gonna go to, like, my first local, and that was in March of 2020, and I never got to
Okay.
go to my first local. So everything I had to interact with was online, or was all of these online tournaments, and my presence wasn't really out there until relatively recently, because I didn't actually physically go out there. So hearing voices of people's like, wait a minute, this guy, English is not his first language, but, like, that's actually amazing, right?
Right.
So I think the first
Yes, it is.
two
Yeah.
between I think the first two commentators that I I found out were from the Mexican scene were you and, I want to say, was it Roy who
Roy
commentated
at
Evo?
MomoCon.
Was or no
No,
at
that was Toon.
That was
Evo,
Toon.
that
Okay.
was Toon Laguna. See, that's
Yeah.
my goat.
So him, he was the other person who I'd heard, like, okay,
See,
he he's definitely one of those people, like, wow, this is crazy
es un
how,
maestro. Es un
yeah.
maestro ese güey.
If it wasn't for him, maybe. Right. And I think
Hmm.
that's, like, good to hear and see that, like, even if, like, English is not your first language, seeing folks like you, folks like Toon and Roy, and having these Mexican commentators come over, and
Colt as well.
they're able to flex that knowledge and that experience in another language that is, again, ostensibly not their main language, is really amazing to see and hear, because it shows that we in the abstract know this is a international game, an international scene, but
Hmm.
it gives more and more of that proof that it really is, right?
Yeah, you enrich you enrich the whole scene by adding different perspectives, and that's something that I think personally that the United States tournaments, they don't fail, but they struggle to see the importance of it. Because I mean, I understand that they're not going to pick me over someone who's been doing commentary for decades and people know them and they have a huge following. That's perfectly understandable. And I'm not asking for like a handicap or a what is it
A
in our
handout,
community? Not handout either. What's the
right?
word? Like a design slot for someone or any particular group. You know, it's just that the value that someone from the outside can bring, especially when this game in particular promotes that. I mean, we have people from Mexico being the best of the world. We have great representatives from South America, being Shiny Mark, being Haunter, a lot of great competitors down
Just
there.
all Latin American, Caribbean, like with Sonics and
We have people
Capitancito.
from todos. We have people from Europe as well. Like, and when you put that together, it's like, okay, this is what makes Smash or the community great, right? All of this specific baggage that they bring with them, and the same goes in the microphone, right? When you bring someone from Mexico who knows these competitors, that you know that they're gonna be up there, up the top, you know that they can bring like a whole different insight of what's going on or what was necessary, what did it take to be there, to get to that spot. Because again, and I've said it a couple times, it's hard. It's hard for us to get our foot in. I struggled. I got lucky, of course, and I had a very, I guess, easy head start when it came to the pandemic. I mean, everything was online, so I could just be on
Yeah.
every single stream that had me,
Oh
right?
yeah.
But crossing that border was kind of hard. You know, I had to make myself worth, make myself useful. I still try to do because that's who I am, right? I'm not just gonna go there and be like, okay, that's my schedule, 6:30. All right, I'll be there at 6:20. I'll try to be there early, try to help move things around, be part of that team that's necessary that just again enriches everything, not just I mean, it's a pair of hands, but maybe my perspective gives you an idea to do something or bring something to the next level.
And something I wanted to bring up right now from the chat that like, yes, the hard work is always there, but if you don't have the luck to show
See.
the hard work and effort that you put in there,
See,
sometimes it almost doesn't matter how much hard work and effort you put into it. It's almost like set for nothing if you don't have those smaller opportunities to show that you've done this effort, you've done all this hard work, and you've done so much to prove that you're worth to put into it, right?
Right.
You have that self-worth and value, but if you don't get that break, no one's going to know all that self-worth and value that you have if it doesn't get put out there, right?
right.
And I guess that's part of the idea of like, it's great to see international talent, especially because like we're literally maybe like 800 miles away from each other. We're a car drive away. We could meet halfway in like 6 hours, in like 5 or 6 hours, right? Driving, and it ain't gonna be that bad, right? So compare that to oh God, who's a commentator that most people know from the Mexican scene that's like literally at the border.
Oh, that's
on the opposite end.
Well, what do you mean the opposite end? Like
going down to like towards the airfield, like the furthest south that most people would know.
Most people would know. Damn, I think it stops at and again, no shade, no jabs at anybody, but I think that like commentator recognition internationally, it stops at Ciudad de Mexico.
Yeah,
we have some great representatives in the south. Larmed comes to mind. A couple others. Well, Chaparrito. Well, he's in Mexico now. Chaparrito, actually, the Tec de Jesus.
Oh yeah.
El Tec de Jesus for Smash 4. Okay,
that was
so
him?
that was him. He is a great content creator, but he was from the south. I think he moved to Ciudad de Mexico, so he would be another great representative. But he's more focused on content. Hey, Asura, what's up? How you doing? We're just talking about you, actually.
Yeah, we were. Yeah,
we're talking shit.
Exactly. No, no. We're talking about the potato that we're gonna get you when you and Momo come to SoCal again.
I think it stops at Ciudad de Mexico because Tun Laguna, he was from slightly up north from Mexico, but he moved to Ciudad de Mexico. Colt is from La Pura Ciudad, Ciudad de Mexico as well. So I think it basically stops there. I mean, again, no shade, but internationally, there's very few Mexican commentators that have made the cut to get to that level, I'd say.
Yeah. Again, it's like the fact that like y'all, like Colt, Toon, Roy, like the folks who here on the American side, we hear them in English, and like especially Colt now because like he's also doing like KOF and Street Fighter and all that stuff, right? Like
that's his jam.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like, I mean, he also has the marketing genius to wear the mask.
See, it is a great differentiator for him. For sure.
I think what was that thing? He was actually featured on that
Evo
on that Evo on the it was an Evo. No, it was a video from Evo where he talked about the mask.
It's wild.
Yeah, I'm like, wow, damn. And it's like that's just the guy that y'all know.
Yeah.
So your start is in the Wi-Fi era.
See. A Wi-Fi warrior.
The Wi-Fi warrior.
I'm in every single sense. I suck at offline Smash, but I am decent in online Smash. Most of my commentary has been online. But yeah, I'm a Wi-Fi warrior.
So your start is online, and we cut to probably about like 2021, late 2021, early 2022, and that's where the real return to offline starts happening.
Mm.
What was that transition like coming off of the online and starting to like show up to places in person? Like, how did that happen? Where was like your first experience at an offline event like, and how did you get there? And what can you remember about it?
Can I use swear words or not a lot or not at all?
Let's see. Hold on. How much time has passed? Yeah, we're good.
Are you sure?
Yeah, we're good. We're good, brother. We're
Okay,
good,
so
brother.
you asked how was it? It was fucking stressful, dude. Like honestly, I'm a very apprehensive guy. I try to let go of things, but I try to be also very calculated when I can, so that I keep everything under control. I'm a bit of a control freak, somewhat. I'm learning to let loose.
Yeah.
The transition from online to when things started like going back into normal, it was fucking stressful because I didn't know if I deep down I wasn't sure if I was cut for that. It like I knew I had the skill, I had the knowledge, the ability, the whatever you want to call it, the charisma, I guess if you want to put it that way too.
Yeah.
Pero people knew commentators already. Like there were established commentators already from
Yeah.
Smash Four, and I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to cross that threshold.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what was the breaking point for me, or the breakthrough? It was Smash World Tour online.
Mm.
So when that happened, it was 2021, I think.
Mm-hmm.
When it ended, because we were doing, I don't know if you remember, but they had like different languages for the Smash World Tour.
Yeah, they
We
had
were
the
working English, Japanese, and French. I think, and Spanish. I
mm-hmm.
think those are the
Because
four
there
languages.
was there was
Circuits.
NA that
See,
had Canada, US, Mexico.
see, but even the other regional tournaments
Mm-hmm.
like the Australian and the Japanese,
Mm-hmm.
we took care of that in Spanish as well. Like
Mm-hmm.
every circuit, every region, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
got covered by the respective language, um, respective other languages. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And when that was said and done, I was like, okay, how am I gonna take this as an opportunity to use like a trampoline, out of it? So I contacted CACT, which is one of the most proficient TOs
Mm-hmm.
in the Smash scene, and I was like, hey, listen, man, I worked on the Smash World Tour in the Spanish side. I'm trying to break through to finally be able to do some commentary in the States, right? And I don't know anyone to do that. Would it be okay to ask? Would it be too much to ask from you to point me in the right direction? I don't need any referrals. I just need you to point me, like, who do I ask?
Mm-hmm.
And he was extremely approachable. This is something that I cannot stress enough. Cact is one of the most down to earth TOs that I've ever had the pleasure to work with and have a conversation with. He was, oh yeah, for sure, man. I like da 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 da. So he pointed me in the direction of SoCal people,
Mm-hmm.
bands, Slicer, um,
The top shelf
and that's how
folks.
and that's how I got into the MSM onlines, and that's how I started like breaking through SoCal. Eventually, Slicer had me in San Diego once, and then it was like a
Domino
snowball.
effect. Yeah.
See, like basically Diego del Fuego, who was here earlier. I'm not sure if he's still here. Um, he brought me to Oregon, to the
Mm.
Pacific Northwest, and that's how I was able to like prove myself that I was like good enough for that. That my
Mm-hmm.
my work and my insight and what I brought to the table was enough, right? And that's how I was able to do major upset, and then a couple more regionals there. I was able to get port priority 8, which was one of the biggest things that I've
Yep.
done as well, at least to me. Shout out Gyromite for being so kind to me in that regard. And that's how I broke through. But to answer your question, and this is a little bit extra context, was to answer your question, how what was the moment that everything changed between online and in person?
Mm-hmm.
It was again the small events and regionals in SoCal, and then the PNW, Pacific Northwest. But for Mexico, it was one event. It's crazy because it has never happened again. I don't think it'll happen again. I don't know if it was like a tax evasion thing, or I have no idea what it was, but I'm extremely grateful for them because they set the bar. Like they flight us in. This was temporada de patos, which is duck season or duck hunt season, something like that. This was in Chihuahua, which is the biggest state in Mexico,
Yeah.
in the middle, right in the middle, in the
Yeah.
north. And they brought us in. The event was like a summit, basically.
Mhm.
They had online qualifiers. Like, it was super fun. Like, they had
Mhm.
a lot of side events. Like, we stayed at the hotel. Like, it was at a hotel, everyone together. Like, it was super nice. So they set the bar, and from that point on, I was like, okay, I can do this not only in my smaller scene or smaller scale. I can do that in other states as well. I can keep branching out, because in Tijuana there was not much going on,
Mhm. As far as like big events, right?
and the ones that they had, I was not allowed to partake.
No, no.
Es que I had an issue with the main TO here in Tijuana,
Híjole.
because he was a little bitch,
Oh,
and
god damn. Ya
he's old as
llegamos al
fuck too.
chisme tan temprano.
No, not yet.
No, no. Not yet. Oh god.
Not yet. But yeah, I was struggling here.
Excellent.
Cállate, Crimson. I had to, I had no home here in Tijuana,
Yeah.
like, my scene wouldn't recognize me. They wouldn't care about what I did. So I was like, I'm gonna move out, and it's something that happens a lot in Mexico specifically.
Mhm.
I don't know if you've ever heard of the crab mentality thing.
Mhm.
It's in Mexico, happens a lot, way. So rather than uplifting and be like, oh shit, we have a good commentator here in our
Que
city.
se cree muy chingón que sabe de
Sí,
whatever.
güey. Sí, güey. So it was like, okay,
real
well,
quick, that's 4 ways so far. So y'all take your 4 shots.
está en el trabajo. He's working. Don't make him drink. Damn. So yeah, I had to find somewhere else to go, and online helped me. The tournaments returning as well helped me. I was able to go to Reta, the 2022, which was in Mazatlan, which was a big turning point for Mexico.
Yep.
In the Smash scene. They looked at us for once. They cared. They believed in us. And I'm speaking about the worldwide community.
Broadly, yeah.
Sí. O sea,
Because I think
States, Europe, Japan,
I think
everybody
outside of
believed in us.
that, outside of that, I want to say, I think the real only tournament that people
Factor.
looked at was Smash Factor. Exactly. Fact,
Sí.
that was the only other ones that like people cared to pay attention to, right?
Sí.
Like, I think since then, now we have, Delfino.
Delfino?
Oh God, what
I mean,
else is there?
Reta and Delfino, they're the same.
Yeah. So like,
it was just an invitational.
And it's one of those things. Like, again, if outside of only knowing that, you don't know that you have so much more happening and going on at any given time. You know what I mean?
Because they don't care, and I don't mean to sound rude. It's just that it doesn't. I guess it doesn't benefit them at all. So there's no incentive on looking our way, and the same goes for commentary. Like, we have what, like 10, 12, 15 very capable bilingual commentators in Mexico, but they don't take us. They don't bring us in. They don't even give us an online bracket sometimes, and it fucking sucks, because it sometimes feels like they do it on purpose, because it's either that or they just don't care enough to like be okay. yeah, we'll give you a shot. We'll give you an opportunity. And it's like, well, you're not. I mean, I get it. You're not gaining anything from it. But the moment you do it for us, we gain a whole lot. Like they don't even know. They take things for granted like way too much, dude. And it sucks. Like it pains me so much to have my fellow commentators who are so good and they don't get us a spot and an opportunity to shine.
I think the issue is, and this is coming someone who's just from the outside, right? The issue of taking a risk, right? Especially when the risk comes to not just the idea of, oh, we're taking a financial risk, because inherently, it's been a problem throughout a lot of different tournaments, that like commentary is not really the thing that tournaments will spend
It's not a
the
priority,
absolute, exactly,
right?
it's not the biggest
Yeah.
priority. So flying someone out, especially when there is no guarantee on the tournament organizer side that, like, okay, we can just bring a person who we don't know
Right.
consistently over. And it's not to be actively disparaging, it's more of like, we can't take that calculated risk anymore, right?
That makes sense.
If we're looking at like 3 years ago, is it 3 years ago now? 4 years ago, we have to say now at this point. 3 to 4 years ago, when we had World Tour, when we had that brief moment where we had Panda Cup and World Tour,
See.
being able to starting to look deeper into the pockets of where we can start pulling additional
Because it was not a
talent
huge
from.
risk.
It no longer becomes a huge risk. And this makes it easier for these places to shine, to be put together. And then it ends up becoming, well, now we have to do it on our own.
Right.
And even then, you have to still try to grab some of that spotlight in order to do it on your own, right?
Right.
If people who are just only really about the scene, like really only care about the players and everything, a lot of people aren't going to know that, like, all throughout different parts of Mexico, every region is huge on its own area. Like, not like it's not like one local where fucking Chag, Waka, MK Leo, Spargo, they don't all exist in one location, right?
Exactly.
It's like saying, oh yeah, dude, US, we're gonna get Esam and Tweak and freaking Shattuck all at the same local, right? That's how that works, yeah, right? That's just not really how that works, and especially when we don't have like that kind of infrastructure that like Japan has, where like it's a 3 hour train ride there and back, and they'll be able to do a super major in one day because they're hyper efficient, right?
See,
we have like these massive disadvantages, and it's worse when you have a country that's not considered the main stage, any central hub, despite the fact that like some of the best talent in the world is just kind of hiding, sprawled throughout the country, right? Not everyone, because obviously everyone knows, Spargo, Leo, and Meister, right? Everyone knows who they are. But 5-6 years ago, they were unknowns, right? They were, for all we know, fucking Waka is the next Raru. Waka is the next Raru. Freaking Alan Dis is the next Hurt. But
they can't show it.
They can't show it, exactly. You can't, there's no way to really show them in a spotlight until you create your own spotlight, which is kind of like the idea of like having your DIY attitude of doing it yourself and building it for yourself. What's the thing from that movie? If you build it, they will come, right? And yeah, right. And you get Factor, having that spotlight. Oh yeah, the visa is a whole separate problem. I don't want to get into politics, man. I fucking hate this shit. Anyway, that's a whole nother story.
Gracias.
I don't want to get into it. I fucking hate this. Never mind. But like, there's all these extra difficulties in being in a country where it's not considered a pinpoint in the scene that everyone looks to all the time, right? and building your own scene and forcing people to start paying attention, right? Like as the beginning of like Spargo getting his rise, that's when all of a sudden people started paying attention. It's like, oh, who's Nerup?
Sí,
Who's Alandis? Who's Waka? Who's all
sí.
these other people that we don't know, right? Uh it eventually will force that spotlight over. But unless you are super in the weeds about it, you're only really going to really care about the players.
Mm-hmm.
And it's up to everyone who's behind the scenes to look and say, that's great that all these players are here and they're ready to show up. That's awesome. I need to find out how I can have my local production talent, my local commentary talent, my local planning talent. How can we tap into those scenes so that we can build these relationships so as in the entirety of us grows overall, especially because we have to do it on our own anyway.
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason to
That's true.
to only platform yourself and not bring everyone with us. We as Smash in general are at a major disadvantage because of all these outside factors that are stopping us in general. Like we're not like France where they pour a bunch of money into their production because it's subsidized, right? It's not like Canada. Canada has improv comedy championships throughout the entire country, and they pour all this time and money and energy into it. We don't have that really, and we don't have these things outside of like very specific niche nonsense that's not part of the scene. So us working together and building it all up is definitely something that has to be strived for in order for not just here in the US, but internationally, we can build these coalitions. So like we can take the opportunities like, hey, let's go all the way down to South America and let's talk to Sekai Dago and ask, hey, who are your production people? Who are your local talent? Who's your TOs? Who are your folks that we can teach, that we can help along, that what are some things we can offer?
You,
exactly.
You know?
And the opposite
of that's the thing. Something that I've noticed, and this is gonna sound like a jab. It might be a little bit. It's just that there's a little bit of selfishness in the US in the sense that everybody wants a piece of the cake. And that's fine. That's understandable. But what I've seen, it's that they fail to be able to let go of their piece to give it to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you an example. There's no need for example, for Diego del Fuego, the TO from Oregon, for Eugene bound, to bring me, to take me to Eugene. There's no need. He has a great talent pool in Oregon, in every single neighboring state, even in Washington, SoCal, NorCal as well. Like he has more people available to him that could do the same job that I do. What's the difference? And what's the gamble that Diego takes? He does that because he knows that if there's going to be a Mexican competitor at his event, me as a commentator, as someone who comes from the same place, I can heighten what that competitor went through, what he's done, how he achieved it, and how hard it was, in a way that nobody else can because they haven't lived that. You know, Getster might be a great commentator, Arbiter might be a great commentator, but they don't know what, let's say, Andrik on his run about to be Big D or Xavier or whoever from the Pacific Northwest about to beat him. They don't know how much it took, and they can't convey it the way that I can. And that's what Diego takes the gamble for. It's like, okay, I know that if that happens, he will be ready and he will bring that forward for everybody to know. And that's what you were saying. Like, how are you gonna know if everything you do, or you play it safe and be like, okay, these commentators are great. They don't know their story. They don't care about them. They're just gonna do their job. That's great. That's fine. That works. But it's not enough to bring it to the next step, to the next level, which is getting people involved and to actually care and to actually be, okay, you know what? Maybe next time, instead of bringing someone from across the states, I'm gonna try to bring someone from across the border. whether it's Canada, whether it's Mexico, whether it's South America, Central America, it doesn't matter because I know that someone will provide a different spice, a different flavor, a different perspective that it's so important to keep enriching that community that we have. And again, it sucks because I've seen it so many times before, especially in online tournaments, how it's so easy to bring a commentator from Mexico when in other countries as well. You got snacks in Puerto Rico, and they do a great job as well. So easy to bring them, but they won't. Why? Because it's easy, because it's comfortable, because we don't have to deal with logistics and time zones and stuff. Wait, it's really not that hard if you care. If you actually try to do it. And something that I've been advocating for, and I guess fighting, or what's the word? Mumbling under my teeth. It's
under your breath.
Under my breath. It's like cállate, güey. It's not as hard as people think. It's not as hard to bring us, especially people. And I'm gonna toot my horn for a second. I'm right at the border. I cross the border and I fly from San Diego. It's extremely easy. It's the same way as bringing a competitor. And sometimes, since I care, I look for cheaper options, So they don't see it. They don't see that because they don't care. They don't ask for it. And it's demoralizing sometimes, but I understand why it happens. It's just, I don't want to say that they have like privileges, but it's just they don't know the struggle, that they don't know how hard it is sometimes, and it kind of fucks me up. It fucked me up for a while, but I've came to terms with it. It's like I can't impose what I feel, what I've gone through. I just wish that sometimes they cared, and I show that. I try to show that through what I do, through my commentary, through what I say, through how I express myself. I try to be very straightforward. It has brought problems. It will keep happening for sure. But I do it out of heart. I do it out of honesty with myself and with the people that I partake with.
I think part of, no matter how much of that happens, being able to still try to push forward regardless of all of the obstacles that are in the way and in your way, that is still that extra level of extra resilience, that not just for yourself but for everyone else that looks to you as the example of how I can move forward, how I can move up. Even if they're never going to be able to get to your level, they have someone I can never be. I can probably never be all the way up there with like TK and Charles and EE and all of them, but I know I can get pretty close because I know my man Serk was able to do it. Right? It's like, and you unintentionally, whether you set out to do it or not, you end up becoming this face of resilience in order to do the things that people want to do, right? And again, because you come from another country, doing it here in the US, it's not that easy. There's a whole bunch of obstacles. There's a whole bunch of obstacles that are in the way just from being from another country. There's a lot of obstacles, dealing with the language barrier. There's just sometimes like not even just the language, but like the context barrier of everything, right? There's just adages that just don't work, right? Not being able to translate everything properly, right?
But that's fine too, because sometimes my adages work in English, or at least I try to adjust them, and they're like, I have no idea what he said, but it sounded nice, and sometimes it makes sense.
Exactly. So you're kind of like becoming this, like, you're coming up now, right? You've noticed that, whether it be here in the US or different parts of Mexico, you are becoming a more forward face in the scene, Like, when did you kind of start seeing and realizing, like, oh, a lot of people are starting to recognize me for what I'm doing? And at what point did you kind of see that, like, oh, I think people are paying attention to what I'm saying? Like, and it's not just obviously the follower counts on Twitter, but like, what was it that like made you realize, oh, I'm starting to have a bigger voice in the scene than I thought I did?
I guess this is because I'm old, but I've always felt that I had a voice. And this is something that I encourage people to think, to believe. It's like, it doesn't matter if you're an tour, it doesn't matter if you're new, it doesn't matter if you play Steve, you have a voice. It matters. Whatever you have to say, whatever you have to add, it matters. And I always came in with this attitude, and that's why sometimes I had a lot of friction. Because it's like, hey, who the fuck are you? I'm like, bitch, I'm me, and it doesn't matter if
Yep.
I'm Spargo. It doesn't matter if I'm the best commentator. It doesn't matter if I'm the TO. I'm me, and what I have to say is relevant. If it's not to you, for someone else, it might be,
Mhm.
or at least it's important to me, so I have to say it. I guess in terms of like objectivity, when I realized that okay, I'm doing shit right, is when I got signed by Smash Factor.
Mhm.
This was 2022, 23, I think. I'm not sure.
So that would have been the year of 9, right?
It's the year of what?
Smash Factor 9.
Ajá, ándale,
Mhm.
exactamente. Sí, 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 sí. Um, Actually, yeah, yeah, yeah. So for that event, it was fun because I was already like feeling off about the team, but I was like, if they don't, yeah, we had a couple of frictions there, here and there, but I'm not gonna go into detail. It's just that they handled everything, I'd say, poorly. Um, but yeah, it was exactly around Smash Factor 9, like early in the year, because Factor 9 was on June, July ish. I think it was July. So I was already struggling in around February, March, stuff like that.
Mhm.
Um, but that's when I noticed, like, oh, because Smash Factor is like the top for Mexican Smash,
Mhm.
right? So it means something. It meant something as well. I was
Mhm.
able to, just with the S and the F in my tag, I could already reach out to a lot of people and be like, "Hey, I'm Smash Factor Serk," and I tried to reach out to try to get some commentary in your event, and it worked. Because it meant something
Mhm.
back then, I think. Um, so I think that's where I felt like I'm, you know what, I'm very well off. I can just, because and honestly, I never did it, and I've never done it for the money, because I'm a lawyer myself. I'm very well off on my own, but I still try to be like extremely fair in the sense that, hey, I can't do it for cheap, not because of me, because exactly as you said it earlier, for those behind me, for
Mhm.
those that want to make a living out of this, and if I don't set the example in that sense, organizers and people around the scene, they're gonna be like, oh, if I can get Cirque for free, I don't need anyone else, right? And that's not fair for people behind me, coming or using me as an example, as a spearhead,
Mhm.
if I can put it, if I can use that term.
Mhm.
Um, so I try to be like very straightforward and like, okay, I would like to have travel accommodations, travel expenses. If it can be fully covered, that's fine. I can settle down, and but at least I'm not like giving away my work, because that would
Mhm.
mean giving away everyone's work, and that's not fair for them.
Yeah, you can't be like kicking the ladder as soon as you make it to the top, right? Like, it doesn't matter
Because
if
it's
that.
kind of cheaty.
Yeah.
I think. I
Oh
think
yeah,
it's kind of
yeah.
cheaty, to be honest. Because it's like, oh yeah, I can get him for free. Yeah, I'll give him a slot. It's like, I don't know. That's why, and I love Arbiter, but that's when you remember when he said about, I'll do it free, la chingada.
Mhm.
Um, it's like, espérate, way. I mean, I get what you're saying, but it's a disservice for your coworkers. Colt does the same. He's like, I'll do it for free. And it's like, no way. O sea, I get what you're saying. I know why you're doing it, but it's not helping your peers.
It's still it's the idea of, and I know we're going to talk about politics, but I do want to bring up this idea of like your collective labor and the things that you do are important not just for yourself, but for those around you.
Claro.
Because at the end of the day, if a CEO leaves a company where the least amount of actual labor is actually happening, where what they control is capital, if a CEO goes away, the majority of the company is not going to feel any of those repercussions.
Right.
But if the bottom of the layer, where the majority of the labor comes from, where the least amount of capital is expended on, if that labor goes away, the rest of the pyramid starts falling down.
Exacto.
So as a collective between anyone that's involved, your labor is your biggest value. Like when you, even with like a small local with the shittiest sounding mics and the worst commentary, that's still going to have better moments. It's still going to have exactly great value. They may be doing it for free, but then again, no one's making money at locals really.
Right.
But like that labor that they put into it expends more value to the stream itself, to the people who are there. And if there's an equivalent stream happening for a local, but there's zero commentary, it's not as good of an experience to have. Right. So to give away that labor, to give away that value,
the time
can diminish what your actual labor value brings and what it brings to the scene itself.
And it already happens a lot. Like commentators get the shorter end of the stick sometimes, unless you're like the top everything, you know.
If you're like the top like 10%, top 5 or 10% of the scene, right? They're willing to invest in you. But even then, and like I've heard like I've heard TK talk about it, how like he will shortchange himself to help accommodate the scene because he knows it's important for the scene that he shows up when he can.
Right.
But it bites him sometimes, and he's brought that up before. So if even at the highest level, the ones they will be willing to spend the money on, they see and they feel that their the value of their labor gets taken advantage of. You can only imagine how it is for anyone who the best that they can do is top 64 or up to top 64. The best they can do is pools, right? Like as long as there's that understanding that my value, my presence, and my labor in the scene means something beyond just the dollar value, right?
Yeah.
But also just like my overall presence here brings value to the stream. The stream can lose like hundreds of dollars that day, but it could have been thousands of dollars if you didn't have that commentator there, right?
Right.
You miss those things, you miss those activations, all that jazz.
Yeah, because exacto. So, and you also need to keep in mind that most, at least in Smash, most of the content or the content gets shared, that gets viralized. It's goes viral rather. It's bots. You know, it's the videos that you get the clips, right? So if those specific moments, the great moments, you know, the Tech de Jesus in Smash 4, the MK Leo versus Tweak at what was it? Evo. It's like all of that. It's great on itself, on its own, right? The gameplay was magnificent, but it was heightened by the commentators, by the energy, by the amount of passion that they put into that moment. And that's, I don't want to say that they become iconic because of them, but it's part of it. And if you get that part out of the equation, it just starts to crumble a little bit. It just is slightly less impactful. Again, the activations and the lore behind any other commentator, that's extra. And that's great because it helps a lot. But for those specific instances where you want to make the most out of every single moment, you have to have the right person, the right people to heighten those moments.
Yeah. which again goes back to, especially if they're in the scene, they're of the same lands, de los mismos tierras, then
Sí, güey.
it makes it mean so much more, right?
Claro.
That's why it's so important, right? It's in the weird way, it's kind of like this idea where, as someone, who was born here in the US, right? My parents came from my mom's from Michoacan, my dad's from León, Guanajuato.
Okay.
Right? They came here. They have their roots established, growing up where they grew up.
Right.
I have my roots established here in the US. But the difficulty is I'm of three cultures. Right? I'm of American culture, Mexican culture, and of Mexican American culture.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And a lot of people think it's only of two. And like, no, you're part of three different cultures at that time.
No, I get
at that
you.
point. And growing up, like seeing not seeing that type of ideas of representations of someone who is like me or is like me, or I have to latch on and make someone like me, right? That's something that's a struggle in the world that a lot of people don't get or understand. Okay. So like in the 90s with Selena, like a lot of people didn't realize she didn't speak Spanish. She was not a Spanish speaker. Right? She had to phonetically learn how to sing every single song, not knowing really exactly what it meant.
Damn.
Right? Like, did you know that?
I not even myself. No.
No.
I wasn't fully aware of that.
That's why
I thought she spoke a little bit of Spanish, but like not like that.
No, she didn't learn until much later in life. Okay. That's why in the movie, Edward James Olmos playing her dad said, we have to be more American than Americans. We have to be more Mexican than Mexicans. Sí. That's where that comes from. But yeah, exactly. Great quote. Great quote. But like the thing that I want to say is I have to forcibly make someone be my representation.
Okay.
I have to force that representation. So when I see in media, no one looks like me, no one sounds like me, no one has a similar background to me, how am I going to be able to feel like I'm a part of this? Justo. Right. The first real thing I remember, or the two things, it was a show on Nickelodeon over here called The Brothers Garcia, and it was about a Mexican American family growing up, and it's weird to be Mexican American when your parents are Mexican. You're growing up here, and there's multiple brothers. It's huge. And it's huge to disconnect even within the same generation of brothers, because there's a brother who is a lot more connected to his Mexican roots. There's a brother who's much more connected to the American roots. And then there's the youngest brother not knowing where he lands everywhere. Right. The biggest thing, which is funny enough, a cartoon called Mucha Lucha. I remember if you remember that one. Exactly. Sí. And I was so fucking mad when they got rid of the voice actor for the final season, because he was this guy. I forgot. Oh God, I'm forgetting his name. He is
for which character?
For Nick Ricochet.
Ricochet.
Yeah. So they changed his voice actor in the third season to some American guy who didn't speak Spanish, didn't have any kind of accent. It was heartbreaking.
It broke.
Oh See? Yeah. It's heartbreaking. I mean, to be fair, the guy's like also Argentinian, so he didn't. But somehow he's able to. Do you remember the Taco Bell Chihuahua?
No,
you don't remember that?
Sí.
That guy, he was the voice actor for Ricochet.
Huh. Okay. The original one. Okay.
Yeah. So he was the original one. So when they changed that, I was devastated.
I remember that. I almost forgot about that.
Yeah.
We were very young when that when that commercial aired out.
Oh yeah, I remember I found it a little while later. It's like, damn, that's crazy. It's crazy how that little Chihuahua ended up like making people like care at least a little bit. That was funny.
Right.
But to loop back to what I was gonna get at, I had to forcibly find my representation. I had to create it from thin air, and I didn't have that luxury of being able to point to whoever I want and say, oh yeah, that person like me, that person represents me, that person represents a portion of me or whatever. Where we are now, like, you are becoming, and the folks from the scene that you represent are becoming those faces of representation. Yes, we have the representation of like, like again, Sonic, Spargo, and all the and Leo and Meister, but like outside of that, you being that forward face and talking and being heard by people who don't understand the other language you speak, and you become that next phase of like, maybe I can do it, maybe I can have that chance. But we don't get those opportunities unless someone decides, this is the person I'm going to bring. And it allows that to form, because again, when I hear you tune Roy for the first time, I'm like, oh dude, that's awesome. Someone from Mexico is speaking here to the Americans and telling them what's what, and giving that context and speaking these stories and having that extra connection that people won't normally have. There's someone who's like half our age listening to you in English or in Spanish, and be like, man, that's awesome. I can't believe, my people are being represented that way. And I think that's something that, like, as minorities in the US that have roots in other countries, we feel a lot more than those who have their established roots here in the US. They have that idea of like, no matter what, I am an American through and through.
And it's not their fault.
And it's not. There's this podcast I'd listened to a long time ago. It's called This Is Rad, where they just talk about like people who come in. It's like, oh, I think this thing's really cool. And they had this guy who he's a tattoo artist, and he has a comic book called Hermano del Destino.
Okay.
And it's about lucha and how this guy's a secret superhero, which is weird because that's just, if you look at old Mexican cinema, all the luchadores were superheroes, right? Sí. With like campeones de justicia. Sí. Who was it? It was it Blue Demon contra los momias de Guanajuato?
El Santo.
Blue Demon. There you go. Sí. Yeah. El Santo, Blue Demon, all those fools, right?
Sí.
But the thing that he brought up in this is like, when you put on that mask, you represent everyone around you, because us as a people with our skin, no matter what, we have a compromised skin because it is a mixture of indigenous and of the colonizers and the colonized, the oppressors and the oppressed. But once that mask comes on, you become everyone all at once.
Yeah.
Exactly. You become everyone all at once. And you become that face for everyone. And it doesn't matter who you are underneath, is that person that you present to be to everyone else. And that aspiration that you don't have to be one type of person. You can be whoever you want, as long as you still represent yourself in that way. Right?
It's something that I try to do, especially when I'm on the mic. When I see people in chat, because it's something that I've noticed that a lot of top commentators don't do, and it makes sense why they don't do it. It's always hard to read someone say that, oh, this guy sucks, right? Because it happens. It happens to every single commentator out there. Oh, this guy sucks. Why is he on commentary? He's yapping. And it has happened to me many, many times before. But far from discouraging me, it's like, you know what? If that guy says that I'm talking shit, or that I'm rambling, or that I'm speaking in circles,
Mm,
maybe there's a reason for that, right? So I always try to read chat because I want to know who's there, who's watching, who's reading, who's being part of it, and I want them to be part of that situation as well.
mm-hmm.
That's why I always keep my phone on with the chat, so that if I see someone that I know, hey, ¿cómo estás? Hey, how you doing? And if someone says something funny, because there's always someone in chat who says something absolutely funny, like incredibly hilarious, and
Yeah.
like, hey, wait, that was fun. That was fun. I'm gonna say it out loud. I'm gonna call your name because you are part of this, you know?
Yeah.
And again, it's hard sometimes, but when you remember that there's people watching, and you bring them in with you, it just heightens everything. Like they feel more participative. They want to engage more. They don't talk as much shit anymore, because, and this is a secret of mine, because they know that you're watching. You know, they're not, oh, this guy's fucking loser. It's like, hey, I saw that. And they know that. So it keeps people in check sometimes.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's good. It's people that they want to contribute, they want to be part of the situation, of the tournament, of the event, because they are. I mean, they're watching, they're using their time.
Mm-hmm.
Like people here in your stream, they're spending their time here, listening to you, listening to me, and they are important as well. It's not just
Mm-hmm.
you and I. It's just Crimson, for example, making people feel in love. So important for streams. It's just as important commentating blogs.
Exactly.
It's maybe even more important, because again, when you're doing a live stream, sometimes you do it for yourself. I do it for myself. It's therapeutic for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I also do it for those that are there. I try to, I give my energy to them as well, because maybe they need a laugh, maybe they need someone to, because they know that they can call me pendejo and stuff like that. And it's therapeutic, like some people find some relief in like letting go, like, it's un pendejo, like, no, el pendejo eres tú, and it's sometimes it's cathartic, and this is something that I like doing.
That's funny.
Yeah, that's true. It's something that I like doing because it's very enriching. It's very invigorating for me as well, because I don't feel unobtainable, and it's something that I've always disliked about some top commentators, that they just feel that they're unobtainable, that they're unreachable. Some TOs as well. I've struggled with a couple. Um, but they find comfort in that, I guess. No, I don't know, justify. It's weird, but I mean, I don't blame them. It's just, again, part of what they've lived. They don't have the same struggles, and that's fine. Like, it's some I can't hold it against them,
Mm-hmm.
because it's not their fault. It's just
Yeah,
that they haven't lived what we have, or what anyone else has, and that's perfectly understandable.
I got that. So you're now starting to get into some of that higher echelons now.
Mm,
You made your transition off of offline into offline. You made some of your big breaks. You had that SF on you for a little bit, which could
mhm.
open a bunch of doors. Um,
A couple.
a couple
Not a lot.
doors. A
Not
couple
a lot.
doors.
I'll be
Eh,
honest.
I don't know,
Not as
sufficient.
much as I thought it would.
enough
Honestly.
to say that it happened. Probably. There
See,
you go.
see, see.
Enough to say that it happened. Um, I want to ask now, like, since then, like, you've been one of the folks that I've seen kind of like that most Americans do know, that is trying to like bring some attention more, right? Because
Mm,
like we said, outside of really Factor and
Delfino.
Delfino and all that, like there's not too many eyes out there. And there's a tournament coming up relatively soon. Was it Sinaloa?
Es en Sonora.
Sonora.
Es yeah, it's a little north from Sinaloa.
So
Sonora es el best of the West.
West of the West 3 coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm seeing a lot of advocacy
Mm.
to kind of like, it's like, hey gang, we really want to try to make this happen. We really want to get this to happen. We're gonna force your eyes over here. I'm gonna reach over and drag them over if I have to, right?
Sometimes, yeah.
I'm seeing that advocacy. Thank you. I'll if I have the
it's easy.
the time
You
and
just
money.
have to go to Tucson and then just drive down. That's it. Simple as that.
Yeah, but I also have to pay the fact that I have to go over there.
Yeah.
I one of these days I am going to go to an actual like out of the country tournament. I want to go. Yeah, see, that's my brother right there, Larry Lemon. Maybe we should try going. Let's see if we have the ability to. Let's see if we have that money. But there's this push to kind of like drag people over to Best of the West, and it comes to mind the idea of we have to kind of do it for ourselves. It doesn't matter how many extra tools we have, we still got to do it on our own. He goes to Mexico every month. You might as well just go there. Well, that's where I got the fucking energy drinks from. My brother got them for me.
There you
go. So now, whether it was a conscious decision or not, and I kind of want to ask whether or not it was, you are pushing additional advocacy for other parts of the Mexican scene to like, to make the presence known, to make it so that all these names that people hear in the background that like, no, we're here, we're gonna go, we're gonna be there, and it's just up to you to also meet us at the other half of the path. Because like what you were saying earlier and what was being said earlier, the people watching on stream, they're the other half of the equation. The tournament being run, tournament being streamed, it's up to them to show up so that it makes it all worth it.
Right.
Did you feel like trying to get people to show up, watch, know about it, was that a conscious decision of like, I'm just trying to get people to see the tournament, or like, I'm trying to make sure people know for a fact that we exist and it's outside of me, it's bigger than that?
See, it's the second for sure. Like, it's been too long without them noticing or without them caring. And I tried to be polite at the beginning. I tried to be like very courteous. I didn't want to burn any bridges. But at this point, it's like, hey, wait, that has not worked. Like, being cautious, being patient. It's like, yeah, we'll think about it. It's like, nah, wait. No, yeah, we need you right now. We need your help because the Mexican scene has a fraction of the capital that the United States in terms of production, in terms of everything, infrastructure as well. Like, honestly, like for Best of the West, there's no airport to that city. You have to fly to a neighboring city that is like 2 or 3 hours away and then take a bus or drive there. Yeah. Like, it's not easy. It's easier for the United States to fly down to Tucson and just drive down, but you still have to do it.
Yeah.
But it's closer there, right? The nearest airport, even from the Mexican side, it's 3 hours away.
Oof.
So it's hard for us. Why they do it there, I don't know. I mean, they got local funding as well.
They were able to pay for it, maybe. I don't know.
There's a lot of factors, but it's also neutral land, and this is weird, a weird thing to say. There's a lot of ego in the Mexican scene in terms of the organizations. Kind of prove who's best and what's the bigger event and where should I go, because we can't afford going to every single one of them.
Yeah,
like we literally can't afford it. I'd seen flights within the States that are extremely cheap, and it's like, hey, wait, and this is something that I say a lot. Your planes, like your shittiest plane, is way better than our good planes in Mexico, you know?
Hey, listen, man, so, I take Volaris and Aeromexico every time we've gone down there, and it's been a delight. I don't know what you're talking about.
Aeromexico is fine. Aeromexico's fine. I don't fit in Volaris. Like, my legs are like, my knees are always like scraping the seat in front of me. It's good. It works, right? It's not falling off. But like, it's more comfortable for the price. It's better. That's what I'm trying to say. So I don't know. It's just it feels like a disservice, like it feels like, hey, wait, you're taking so much shit for granted, and when we are trying to do something good for us, we need that extra push. Because even when every single competitor in Mexico gathers in one tournament, it's not enough to get it to a super major status or a premier status. So we rely on Japanese players, we rely on American players. I'd love to say that we rely on South American and Central American players, but they don't. I mean, they have it worse than us, to be honest with you. So it's like if we start like dragging people from up north down here, we can eventually help, or at least they can help themselves, maybe Central and South America, to also drag people towards them. I mean, we've seen that in Smash Legends in El Salvador, which is a Central American country as well, and they're doing great. I mean, they're doing fine. They have guests from Mexico. I think they have guests from the States as well. They've had at least a couple of them. So if we start doing that, they have no excuse to be, because I've spoken with people and they're like, and a good friend of mine also has spoken to certain commentators and TOs about having us like, hey, take a look at us, hey, help us to get ourselves started. And they're like, oh, I mean, you have it good. I'm like, hey, fuck you, we don't have it good. We're fighting for this shit.
Yeah,
it's like, and them saying that it's like it's
a major disservice. Yeah,
super disservice.
To say like
it's disrespectful.
It's to say very lightly, it's a disservice, right? Because like everything that we bring up, like that we've said in the past, that like it's already hard enough to get your Mexico's best talent that's not, players, to be recognized on an international stage. It's harder to get the international stage to recognize your best talent.
We have to earn that spot.
Yeah.
We have to fight for it. And it's hard.
And I think the earliest glimpses of like, oh, this could possibly happen, the earliest glimpses of that was the come up of Spargo and Chag coming together, and that's when people started paying attention a little bit more here and there.
Right in that they had their eyes focused on
in that
on
2022,
Leo, and that was it.
Yeah, it's like
that was it,
and especially because like yes, we had Leo, Meister was there. Then Spargo starts coming up with Chag, and then it's like, oh wait a minute, there's a whole group of people here.
Yeah.
We have there's Nero, there's freaking, like you said, Waka Island, this and all these very deep
rocks in the
rocks, Omega Rugo. Like you have all these different people that like exist that like if we threw them out and we said, hey, head over to Wild Smash and they'll clean house, they'll probably take it without dropping the set.
Andrick is always coming sweeping Shark Tank all the fucking time.
All the fucking
time. And Big Boss too when he goes.
Yeah.
But and it's not, I'm not throwing shade at SoCal. I love them. But and the same goes for commentators. That's what I wanted to say. Like in competitors, yeah, we know that there's a lot of representatives that haven't had the chance. And the same goes for commentators.
And it's gonna be easier for them because if they go on a run, it becomes a Cinderella run all of a sudden, right?
Exacto.
Like if, like one of the best matches in like for Wave Dash 23 was Andrick Big Boss, right?
Sí, güey. And I was commentating that.
That was a crazy one.
And my energy was only achievable by me at that point. Nobody else could have felt what I felt and how I expressed it. Again, not tooting my horn. It's just that I had the baggage to bring with me to that event to show that, hey, Mexico is dominating SoCal. And it's something that you cannot express if you are from SoCal, because it's like, oh shit, they're beating an ass in a code retweets, dude.
Yeah.
But it's like they can't feel that excitement, that amount of sheer emotion that I felt at that point, because I was fucking dude. I had goosebumps all over my body with that. With that said, I was
Oh
going
yeah,
wild at
that
it.
was a good one. That was a good one. That end
See,
on FD, that was crazy.
see,
Oh,
see.
the crowd was awesome. A little bit before that, that was where
The crowd was awesome.
the
See,
crowd who was T3 Dom going
Sh-
up against in
the
top
who?
eight? Who was T3 Dom going up against on top eight during that one?
Oh, I don't remember.
Oh, I don't remember. But when he, as soon as he hit that
Sonics?
one, was it
Was it Sonics?
Sonics? I think so.
Maybe.
And
Look, see,
the whole crowd yelling, "Just press B,
see.
just press B." I turned the if you saw Wolfie's a video of like his lowlights. He had his highlight reel, but then he had this low light reel with his like his worst
yeah, I saw
moments,
that.
where
See.
he's like flailing his arm like un pendejo, like like that. That was me. I just happened to be turning over, and that was him. Wolfie there just throwing his arm like fucking crazy.
Right.
Yeah, that was crazy shit.
Love Wolfie.
That was Wolfie. Oh god, I hope they're doing better. I don't know if you saw the scene lately,
They are.
but yeah,
No, he's fine. He's fine.
I hope so. I
I
hope.
saw him at Genesis.
Oh yeah. I forgot. I forgot
Yeah.
that they were at Genesis for
Yeah.
Rivals. I think is what it was. I want to say.
Yeah, he commented Rivals, and I think a little bit of the D Genesis as well.
No. Okay.
I was just there. I was there just for the D Genesis myself.
Okay. Um. But yeah, like forcing those eyes over. Like,
See,
has that been? At what point did you kind of realize or decide that like this is something I have to do? And like, what made you think I need to take this on? Did it become a frustration of like for myself, and then eventually like
see,
if it's frustrating for
See.
myself, I can only imagine how it is for my
See.
peers.
see. So I exactly as you said it. It started off as my own feelings, but then I started to realize that a lot more people felt that too, and I've always been, and my good friend Pixel, I don't know if she's still here, but she was here earlier.
Mhm.
She's always called me like that I have the hero syndrome, and I kind of do. It's part of my formation professionally. I mean, I'm a lawyer, as I said, so it's something that it's ingrained in me, and I also take. I guess it's safe to say that I find not pleasure. What's the word?
Satisfaction, gratification.
Satisfaction. Thank you. Yeah, satisfaction. Satisfaction in doing it because I get to vindicate those feelings that I had, those negative feelings that I had of frustration and disencouragement. It's like if I do it for someone else, if I put myself in harm's way first, like call a TO out or call someone out for saying something stupid, like that guy who was like, "Oh yeah, you guys got it good. Fuck you. You know who you are." It's like I like the guy, but fuck you for that. It's like if I can put myself in that position in harm's way, I stop someone else from doing it.
Mhm.
And again, if one day I stop doing commentary, if I burn every bridge, if I close every door, I'll be fine. I do this because I love it. I find great satisfaction and passion in doing this. So, but I know that at one point it'll end. I'm 33. Am I 30? I'm 30. I think I'm 33. Dude, I'm old now. I can't even remember.
You know what
I
they
think
say
I'm-
as your age? The first thing to go is your memory, and I can't remember what the second thing is.
Anyways, he's like, so it's like at one point I'll stop and I'll stop like being out there for hire, and I'll just let someone else take the mantle of that, and I just want to leave a good path for someone else to take, and that's what entices me, that's what motivates me to leave a trail for someone else who's coming behind me with more passion than me, more talent than me, and and I don't know, maybe the all the right factors to achieve greatness that maybe I won't be able to achieve, you know? So that's what motivates me, and even if I burn bridges again, or fight with people, it's what I think it's necessary sometimes, because
Mm-hmm.
they, again, since they don't know the struggle, they don't know how hard it is sometimes, they just take things for granted. And they will never understand if you don't hammer it in
Yeah.
sometimes, you know?
Yeah.
So that's my justification for being an asshole, I guess.
Pretty decent one, I think. Pretty
That's
decent
my
one.
excuse. Yeah.
so so here we are. We're kind of started catching up to where we are today.
Mm.
What I want to know is, like, have you felt that, are you starting to accomplish some of the things you set out to? Did you go out of your way to set your goals for yourself when you started getting
See.
into the scene? And like, at what point did you say to yourself, like, I think I've met some of the goals I've wanted to reach, and now it's time for me to push forward and
Mm.
figure out what my next ones are? Are you at that point yet so far, or do you think there's still a lot more for you to get to before you can think about what your next steps are?
Okay. First of all, great question. I love it. Um, to begin with, I'm gonna say that I have ADHD, attention deficit, and hyper activity disorder.
Mm-hmm.
What that means is that I also have hyperfixation
Mm-hmm.
in a lot of things. My This is a motivating factor for a lot of things. Like, once I set my goal, my sights in something, I don't stop until I get it. That's part of the hyperfixation.
Mm-hmm.
And when I started, I did set myself some very high standards for myself, even
Mm-hmm.
if they seem disproportionate, because I knew that if I worked to get them, I could.
Mm-hmm.
My first goal was to commentate Evo the same way
Mm-hmm.
that Tun Laguna did. I wanted to be the second Mexican to do it. Um, the second Mexican is Colt,
Mm-hmm.
um, which is great. But since Evo dropped Smash, that's no longer a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, I mean, sucks to suck, right? It was a little too late.
Mm-hmm.
However, when that moment that Evo drop Smash happened, I was like, okay, so then what are you gonna replace it with? And I looked at SmashCon, Super SmashCon being the celebration of Smash.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way they drop Smash for that event, so I'm like, I want to get that. I want to be there. I was lucky enough to be contemplated for the blocks for that weekend, SmashCon 2023, which was the last Super SmashCon before they rebranded to Supernova in
Mm-hmm.
24. And that was the peak for me.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, like, it was my Evo, because it's so unlikely to be selected to that
Mm-hmm.
event. I mean, it's the Smash event. Everybody wants to be there. Everybody wants to have it. And the fact that they got me, shout outs to Scaps. You have no idea how much I love you. He was the commentator coordinator for that event. He looked at me and he was like, hey, maybe this guy has something to offer. And I did. And I absolutely did everything that I could in my power to bring my absolute best. My Twitter picture is me commentating. And this is a little emotional. It always gets me emotional. I'm a bit of a sensible beast, even though I
Yeah.
try not to be to show emotions a lot,
Yeah.
or what is it? Not fragile. Personal emotions, like
Mm-hmm.
secret emotions. That picture, the Twitter picture that I have, is me doing commentary, and shout outs to Brandon Trident Skirt, who took that picture. It means a whole lot to me because it's the moment that it's one of my most genuine smiles that I have.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something so rare to capture. So even though I look a little silly, I keep it because it's my reminder that I achieved one of the hardest goals and outlandish goals that I set for myself.
Yeah.
Cállate la verga, Crimson.
Next thing you see the chat, little, little.
Pendejo. So that was my goal. I achieved it, and it's like, let's fucking go. I don't care if I never get it again. It's not something that I feel entitled to. The first time I went to Europe was one of my goals as well. I want to do a commentary in specifically in Europe, Japan, and Australia, and Alaska as well. But that's something else that I'll that I delve in a little further. So Australia is just because I've always wanted to go there. It's one of my bucket list dreams. I don't know why. I have a good friend there, but I want to go to Australia. I want to go to Japan. I'm planning on going this year. If I get lucky enough, there's gonna be a super major there, and I hope I can
pick a weekend, man. Just pick a weekend.
I hope, hey, dude. I hope if I go and there's nothing going on, I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna host my own tournament or something. I don't know. One of my other goals was so Europe happened. I was casted for Ultimate Fighting Arena in France, and I was like, no mames, way, that's unbelievable as well.
Yeah,
because it's so hard to do. Like just crossing the ocean for Smash, it was like, dude, it meant a lot to me.
Dude, crossing the border is already hard enough. Imagine having to do it for the entire fucking ocean.
See, so now, admittedly, and this is gonna sound so smug, I don't. Even though I went to Europe for a Smash tournament, I don't think anything beats SmashCon. So all the other goals are more like, goals that just solidify me as one of the best, because I want to be one of the best. I want to be the best. I want to be around the best, and I want the people to also feel that way. Like I want to be next to that guy because he's good, he's great, he's the best, and I want to motivate them that way by proxy. So one of my other goals was, and this is one of the most important ones for some reason. I want to be the first commentator to commentate in the whole, like every single piece of the West Coast. So I'm missing Alaska. I'm gonna try to do it this year, which I also love Alaska. I'm team cold, so I love the winter, and it's also in my bucket list. Alaska. I'm missing British Columbia, Canada. But I already have the United States. I mean, I have Washington with the Port Priority. I have Oregon with Keep It Chill and Eugene Bound. I also have NorCal with the Genesis. I wanted to get Genesis, but when I saw that roster, it was like, nah, there's no way. I mean, it's not way. They got the top of the top, and it's like, there's no way in fucking hell that I'm gonna get a slot there, So I was like, that's fine. Even if I didn't get Genesis,
you know what? Aim a little bit lower. Go for Genesis Black when they show that one up.
Genesis Black. I called Jed out about it, and he's like, "Oh, we'll see." I'm like, chill the matter way. I love the guy. I love Jed. He's my goat as well. He got me for D-Genesis, and that's, I mean, to be fair, that's good enough for me.
Yeah, it's a wild weekend from everything I hear.
See, it is. It was fun. It was fun. I also got SoCal with the multiple events, Wave Dash, San Diego tournaments as well. I got Tijuana, of course, in the Mexican side, which is also part of the West Coast. And I'm missing out 7? What's 7? What's 7, Crimson? 7 states? 7 places to commentate?
Yeah.
And then I'm missing out also Baja California Sur.
Oh, 7 shots.
Shit. And then I'm missing Baja California Sur, which is the last tail part of the west coast of Mexico. Once I do that, I will be the first and probably only commentator in the world who have done that. So
that's all of the West Coast in NA.
All of it. Yeah. All of it. I didn't want to spoil it because I don't want anyone beating me to it. But I think it'll be hard enough. I mean,
That's only
we have great.
that's what two tournament or three tournaments left, right? That's all you got to do.
See,
Yeah.
3 tournaments left. Alaska, which they have a great scene. I'm looking forward to that. British Columbia, which will be the hardest, I think, because unless I get Battle of BC 8, because I'm not going to this one.
The Infinity Stones of commentary.
Seaway, literally. The Infinity Stones of the West Coast. I want them. I need them. That's for my ego. That's just for my ego, dude. And I recognize that. But once I get all of my goals, I'm pretty comfortable in just like stepping down and be like, okay, well, I got my shit done.
Just
I wish. So it's like, yeah, I'm done. I can move forward to something else. Still be available because it's something that I love. But like I've slowed it down. Last year I didn't have a lot of events. But I had meaningful ones, which of course UFA, and then well, I have it pinned on and a couple of Mexican ones. But for this year, I want to focus more on the Mexico side of things. I want to visit more regions, which I have. Because again, it's just a matter of sending the right message at the right time in order to get those West Coast events that I'm missing out. So yeah, to answer your question, it's just I have my goals. Once I get them, I'll slow it down like a notch, like a big step, because it's tiring. It's exhausting reaching out to people, and I handle rejection pretty well myself, which helps a lot in the mental. But like it gets tiring to be chasing around people and showing my value sometimes, because it's what I have to do. I have to prove my worth, whether it's in Mexico or the States, even if I have the repertoire that I have.
Whether that's a good or bad thing, right?
See, no, it is a good thing. It is a good thing because I mean you can't just take for granted shit. Even if you think you're the best, it's like, anyway, you still have to work. You still have to polish yourself. You still have to be up to date. And
it's like we were saying earlier that like now you're at 8. There you go, crazy. It's like what I was saying earlier that like, yes, you have to be lucky because it doesn't matter how much hard work you put into it. If you weren't ready when that opportunity hits, then your opportunity is wasted.
Right.
But if you're always ready, once you get that opportunity, people will actually be able to see it, right? They'll be able to take that on. And yeah, that's kind of how that ties back around every single time. Like everything that you've built and everything that you are continuing to build, it will eventually pay off in one way or another. It's just a matter of, did you put in enough work into it so that once you get those opportunities, it really shows that you deserved it in the first place. And
also when you're done, be like, you can lay back and be like, shit, I did that and I did it well. You know, it's like, it's the satisfaction of doing a good work, not only for yourself, but for the people behind you or coming, behind you.
Yeah. Paving that way, doing the hard work of being the first one is always difficult, right? And
it's a nice ego booster too.
It's like, hey, I was the first.
I work a lot on that too. Yeah, it's a good motivator for me.
Yeah, I see
vain.
The vanity.
See, it's a little veiny. Yeah.
I mean, like at the end of the day, if you're able to push those boundaries for not just yourself but for others,
right?
You can enjoy the vanity a little bit, but ultimately, it creates additional opportunity for those around you. And like going back to like the main theme that just happened to become the theme of this whole night of like, as much as you do for yourself, that will always open the extra opportunities for those around you that deserve it just as much as you. whether
For
it
sure.
be for exclusively Spanish commentary or for the bilingual commentary as well. Maybe even just like actual workside like production. I'm sure
Uh-huh.
there's extremely talented
Know
people.
how. Yeah.
Yeah, like there's probably extremely talented TOs and production crew all throughout Mexico that like
See,
all
there
they
are.
need all they need is someone
Believe.
to believe in them and say, "Hey, we can take
We'll
this
take a
shot
shot.
on them
Hmm.
right?" Like
See.
like VGBC doesn't have to fucking send the entire crew over to wherever. All they need to do is let you have the stream key. You know what I mean?
I mean, they do benefit from that, but like, but like, it's appreciated, yeah, and it helps a lot.
Mhm.
Honestly, it's something that when Smash Factor 10 happened, specifically Factor 10, I read chat, and a lot of people also reached out to me individually about why a Mexican event had a mainstream in English, and I understand what they're asking. Like I get it. Like if you're trying to represent your country, do it in your language, do it in your baggage, your knowledge. But sometimes, in order to force people to look at us, we have to adapt. And that's one thing that Mexicans do very, very fucking well. We adapt, right?
Have to.
And we have to. We have to. So I explained to a lot of people, to people in chat, it's like, hey, we understand. We also have a Spanish stream if you prefer it that way. But the mainstream, the one that reaches more people, and the reason why we do it in English is so that we can reach all of that people. We can have people from Europe, we can have people from the States, from Canada, from Mexico as well. I mean, we got people bilinguals as well that prefer the English commentary. Um, and it's the only way to do it. You have to take those opportunities and make the most of them. Of course, we have a lot of, as you mentioned, we have a lot of a talented pool of people that, luckily for us, we can do it
Mhm.
without having to bring someone over. We do bring them, and that's something that always infuriates me. Like, we do bring them to Mexico, to Mexican events, but they don't do the same, and that's cabrones. Because it's like, hey, wait, we do it for you. Why would you do it for us? I mean, we're not asking you to bring the whole fleet
Mhm.
of Mexican crew, right? But bring a representative, bring two. That's what Momocon does. They
Mhm.
have Arath and Roy
Mhm.
both pioneering the Spanish stream, spearheading the Spanish stream, and that's fine. That's great. Cact also holding a Spanish stream, and I saw that. I knew you were doing that. I I almost, yeah, I was sure. So so it's like, we have to do it that way sometimes, even though it feels as a disservice, or like we're, what's the word,
Being
what's the
treasonous
word?
or whatever,
See,
traitor
see,
or whatever.
see. A traitor. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Betraying is the word. It seems, or it feels like we're betraying our language and our people. It's like, no way. We have to do it because otherwise they won't look. Yeah, that's 10. I'll put it myself. Um, we have to do it that way. Otherwise, they don't look at us.
Stream.
Oh,
Stream.
oops,
Wrong scene.
oops. Where are we? Here maybe. Oh, what happened? Hey, that's my end stream. What happened? That's
And
not.
now
No, that's. Am I good? Are we?
we're good. We're good now. We're good.
There you go. Oof.
You gotta do the OBS plugin that where you can only apply it to one source. So no matter how many times you change your scenes, that virtual cam will always be the one scene, no matter what.
Okay.
I'll
I'll,
send
uh,
I'll send you the
thank
video.
you. Thank you. Cállate, Crimson. Cállate ya.
He broke the stream again. That was a good time.
Sorry about that.
What were you saying?
I was saying that that's how we force them. That's how
Yeah.
we have to adapt, and we have to do it. Otherwise, they won't look our way. So it's hard, it's complicated, it's exhausting, it's
Mm-hmm.
demoralizing sometimes. But in the end, it also pushes us to strive to be better, to demonstrate, to prove that we can do their job the way they do it, and sometimes even better,
Mm-hmm.
even if I do say so myself.
Oh yeah. It's the idea of like it's always change and forward momentum is never easy because progress looks like this,
See,
right? Progress is like this. But the problem is progress with its ups and downs, it doesn't up and down forward. It ups and downs like this.
mm-hmm.
It never you never know whether or not you're really making progress
Yeah,
until you look back over months, weeks, years
and you
to
might
really see
regress
it.
sometimes even.
Yeah. Right? No matter how much hard work you put into it, right? Like
See,
the struggle to make something better is always taking so many more losses than you ever will wins.
see,
It's always that way. And coming back to what I was saying about, Best of West 3 of like seeing you push it as much as you have and seeing so many responses to, hey, I need to show you much as possible. We need you to see what we're capable of.
hmm.
Not the product that we produce or the things that we produce is more than just our handful of people that you recognize. It's so much deeper. There's
See,
so many people behind the scenes that we can show you that we're at that level.
see.
And maybe we don't have the Japan bias over here because they'll forgive anything Japan does.
See,
The world will forgive
I
Japan
would,
for everything.
I would.
But the more we do that, the more we keep doing it, whether you drop off and someone decides they're going to take up the mantle afterwards to do that same level of push, as long as there's this continuation to let the presence be known, because no one's going to know if everyone decides to just stop putting in the effort, right? It's up to those streams that like, oh, we have our weeklies, we have our weekly locals, we have our monthly regionals that will probably at best get 300 people to watch. But that's
See,
300 more eyeballs that happen if 300 more eyeballs compared to if no one decides to put in the work in the first place, right?
right. Hmm.
Mm,
And we also need, and this goes back to something that I mentioned earlier about the ego within certain organizations in Mexico. Like, it's when we're trying to achieve something as big as getting a third major in Mexico, for example, because that's a big deal for us. I mean, we really only have two per year. It actually takes the effort. It should take the effort of every single person in the community. And it's hard to do it because sometimes it's like, hey, I don't want you to shine more than I do. And it's understandable. That's completely understandable. That's a human feeling. But if we don't do it, if we don't push ourselves that way to be like, hey, wait, right now we need you to at least retweet what that organization is doing. So otherwise, they might not see exactly. They might not get those extra 300 pair of eyes, right?
mm-hmm.
So it's a conscious effort to be ready to let go of prejudices, let go of ego, let go of pride. Which again, it's hard,
Mm-hmm.
but if you're really doing it for the community, you really have no. It's not necessary to put your flag up first. You know, it's like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
we're Mexico after all. We're all the same community. It doesn't matter if you're part of this team or the other. That's why I think Best of the West has a very good chance of thriving as much as they are. I mean, I was there for the first one, and it was like 80, 90 competitors at most.
Mm-hmm.
The second one grew exponentially larger. Spargo was there as well. I wasn't there for the second one because I was going through some personal issues. and I regret not going for the second one, and I regret not helping as much as I should have. But the fact that we're so close to it on the third iteration is like we need to do more,
Hmm.
and admittedly, I don't think I've done enough, but I also don't have that responsibility of doing more that I need to. It's
Hmm.
like, even though I have that the savior syndrome, the hero syndrome, it's like, see, wait, but you also have to let other people also put their part of the weight.
Hmm. Hmm.
So we're excited. We're excited about Best of the West. I think it's gonna be a great event. I've seen it firsthand, and I know that this one will be even better.
Yo, that
It's
trailer was.
dude. The trailer was fire. Raguño did a phenomenal job. He's a designer here in Mexico. He's also a designer for a couple of events in the Pacific Northwest. He's great. But also it's very funny because I've been to a lot of tournaments in different regions. I would like to say, and this is gonna be a bit of a jab. American events are so boring in comparison to Mexican events, and well, at least the UFA, the one in France.
Hmm.
It was amazing. Like the vibe was there. Like everything is just, the US ones are a little bland sometimes. Just without trying to drag anyone down. Genesis was fun. It was really a really nice experience, but it was limited to what they had to offer in terms of services. Like
Hmm.
the arcades, the by the way, shout outs to Lei. She was in charge of the what's it called, the low stimulation room. That was my goat. Dude, I was just chilling in a beanbag, and
So for
those are the
people who need
kinds
to
of,
calm down, right? Yeah.
see. So these areas and experiences, they're great, but they're nothing like what we experience here in Mexico, because it comes from the heart. It comes from the passion that we have,
Hmm.
not only as a community, but as
As a people, as a culture,
see, culture.
as part of
Culture
an
is the word.
identity, right?
See, justo. And
Yeah.
when they experienced that, I mean, Arbiter was there, Jules was there, a lot of American competitors were there. Their minds were blown. They're like, dude, this shit is amazing. And it's like, see, that's what we have to offer, but you won't take a look at us.
Yeah. I think the
So,
I think one of the things I point to is, at least in my experience, like, some, depending on the event that you go to, like, it's the same thing as if you're going to um so I originally come, like, in high school. I was part of, like, the punk scene back
mm,
in, right? So, like, and then we seen a lot of, and then afterwards, going to the local ska scene, and the ska scene there and the punk scene there is built from children of immigrants,
mm,
built from the struggles of working class people,
right.
and the need of release
Mm,
from
the
being
hardships.
the hardships of, again, being of three cultures,
See.
and finding this is how we can do it.
Mm,
And the best concerts I went to was always bands where they would bring talent from different parts of the world.
different cultures. Yeah.
Probably my two favorites that were there was Monstros de Rock, because they had Asesino play there,
Mm, see.
and one of three ever shows that Scape ever played in the US.
Mm,
Like, that was amazing.
mhm.
Um Also, every time I had a chance to see Panteon Rococo,
See.
that was, it was amazing. That
See,
shit was awesome.
it's amazing.
Is right, but, like, that comes from that feeling, that energy,
We
that
need to release it.
exactly. But,
Hmm.
like, it's not a that same type of feeling and energy doesn't come from a lot of the punk bands that I saw, where the majority of them are mostly white Americans, or even some of our Latino representation.
Sí.
It's far and few between by comparison. Like there are like great like Latino punk bands that are coming out of the US, that have come out of the US. Like the biggest one that most people point to was this hardcore band out of Chicago called Los Crudos. And like the singer, I think he was from, is it Ecuador? I think he's from Ecuador. But like every time the best shows were from Latino bands, right? If I still had the chance to go to, I would take you to go see some of these bands because they're still playing. Bands like Ocho Calacas, Viernes 13, La Banda Escalavera, Matamosca. They're amazing bands
fun.
Live. It
just
is.
With the name.
Yeah, freaking. Yeah,
it's wild.
Yeah, it's fun as hell. Like if you ever have a chance to listen to, probably one of the most well-rounded bands out of all of them is probably La Banda Escalavera. There's La Resistencia. They're kind of like that pioneer of what at least in LA, what the scene is about, because it's hyper political. It is born of, again, the struggles of being immigrants and children of immigrants, and dealing with the kinds of struggles that we deal with, and again, being of multiple cultures and finding our place in this world that doesn't want us around. Right. For a long time, the band Resistencia wasn't playing, and I'm like, damn, what happened? And I was talking to the singer of Matamosca, and he was like, oh yeah, dude, freaking, for a while they weren't playing because their singer got deported. I was like, fuck.
No way.
Yeah, the singer got deported, and he was going to the singer of Matamosca was gonna play, but they I don't know how he came back. But he came back. The singer of Resistencia came back, right? But again, it's all born of this like certain energy that doesn't really exist in the world unless you know something like that. And that's the kind of energy that I feel like you're talking about, because it's something like, whether it be a concert, sporting events, anything like that, like it comes from who we are as a people growing up. Like between you and me, like we're really far apart. Like when we look at like how we grew up and what we grew up with, but like there's still that
maybe not a lot.
I don't know, maybe not a lot. I don't know. but there's still so much that like we can feel and experience in the same kind of way.
Claro.
You know what I mean?
Sí.
That's something I feel like I hear what you're trying to say.
And that's what we're trying to share. That's the thing. Like we're trying to get people to get to know that, because it's, even if I again said it myself, it's hooking. It's addictive. You know, that energy, it's extremely contagious. And that's why in my commentary, I try to do a mix of what I enjoy in commentary, which is strict professionalism. But then I snap and be like, oh no, mames, without fucking crazy, you know, and it's natural, because first I love the game, whether the meta sucks or whatever. I love the game. You can tell when someone loves the game. You can tell when a commentator is having a good time or a bad time, and I try to incorporate that to find a good mixture, because I know that some people I don't like when people shout too much when in commentary, you know, so I try to like keep it balanced and show that energy, because that's what I want them to experience. I want them to feel the same way that I do, through genuine expression, right? But always trying to tone myself down so I'm not just like crazy shouter, you know. It's hard sometimes.
It makes the shouting moments feel more earned.
True. Yeah. And that's also part of what I try to do, you know. It's like, if I have to shred my throat for something, my chords, I'll do it, you know, because it's something worth. But other than that, it's like you can tell when someone's not enjoying their time there, and people in chat realize that they feel it, and that's why we get a lot of people spamming in chat like, "Oh, I'm watching the game muted," and
Yeah.
it's like that's why, and that's a missed opportunity, and that's a as harsh as it sounds, it's a
Mhm.
misjudge, a miscall on the talent that was brought on the stream. And I know that it's subjective, and I know that every single person brings something different, but that's why talent coordinators or commentator coordinators have such hard time
Mhm.
to find the right pairs of commentators, because sometimes if you don't hit the right energy with the right analysis, or again the backgrounds to complement each other,
Mhm.
it's just i- it's just not enjoyable for both the viewer and the commentators themselves.
Mhm. Mhm. I get you, man. Sir, I want to know how much time you got left because we've been going for a bit, and I don't know if you have a heart out or not because I've been really enjoying this, man. I've been really enjoying this
I'm
talk.
enjoying it myself.
I don't know how much time do you have like a heart out at any given time or no?
Not a lot. I mean, I live on my own. I've done my chores. I'm good to go.
Okay,
We
cool.
could go for a little bit further for sure.
All right, for sure. Because I want to touch on I want to see what else we can touch on real quick. But also our last portion of the way we do this, it ends up taking about like 45 minutes to an hour, depending on how we do it. But that's
Okay.
neither here nor there.
I'll try to keep it short then.
Nah, what? Oh, fuck it. I can go eat Raising Cane's later if I want to. I wanna get your insight, right? Being from another country,
Mm.
being from another scene, I wanna see more of your insight as far as what is something that like people who are watching this, whether it be people from smaller scenes within Mexico or the US, wherever, what are some things that like you feel are like your hardest lessons learned um on your way to get to the point that you got to, um that if you if you had someone tell you these lessons, it would have made your journey a little bit easier? What are some things that like along the way that got you to the point that you are that you wished someone would have told you, or what kind of advice that you would have for people, whether it be commentary, whether it be being within the scene, being a figure within the scene, whatever kind of advice that you can give? Because I know, like I said, you being that first or part of that first wave is
Mm.
so hard because there's no real roadmap for you. You have to
Yeah,
make that roadmap on your own.
it was hard.
Yeah.
It was hard
So
at the
what do you
beginning.
have for people who would ask you these things?
At the beginning, I always thought that, oh, you need to get top 8, you need to get top 4, you need to get the top cut blocks, otherwise you're just a B lister, you're just a C lister, you're just a nobody, right? You're just filling in spots. And I wish I realized sooner that it doesn't matter if you're commentating pools or top 8, you still have to do your best. You still have to commentate both as if it's your last block, as if it's the last set, last hit, and you have to do it genuinely. You can't lie. You can't lie to people. You can't force hype. You need to feel it. You need to enjoy it yourself. And it's something that I struggled a lot at the beginning because I always thought that I needed to chase for that top cut. And the more that I got those blocks, the more I realized that it didn't really matter. Like it's just ego at this point where, oh yeah, I got top 4. It's like in the end, sometimes it's not even that good to get those blocks because you go home late. It's like there's a lot of things that you start valuing more, right? You give it
Mm,
more value. I wish I was told that I cannot force people to understand my standpoint, especially when it comes to complaining about things, because I used to think that if I complained with a long enough argument, it didn't like it didn't matter how long, as long as it was justified and it made sense, people would understand it. And it's not that way. Like it people sometimes are bent into their own reality and they don't care, and you can't sway them, even if you
That's your
if your
job bleed.
argument is the best.
That's
Yeah,
your
it's
job
like
bleeding into the real world.
yeah, like basically, like there's not much you can do when someone's already fixed in an
Yeah.
opinion or a belief. So that would have saved me a lot of head bonks against the wall, because I was like, dude, why can't you understand something as simple as this? Um, and that messed me up at the beginning. Other than that, it's just like, be genuine, be honest about your stuff. You will get enemies and detractors when you're honest,
Hmm.
especially if you're brutally honest, because people don't like that. But in the end, what matters is that you're honest for yourself, not for anyone else, not to appease anybody. It's just, if you're honest, your mind is at ease. Nobody can complain about like your stance is, because it's something you believe in, even if it's like something wild. Sometimes, I mean, you'll probably get canceled or stuff like that if it's something outlandish. But at the end of the day, it's how you feel. It's what you believe in. So it's like, that's fair. We have to be more understanding sometimes. What else? I think that's it. I think that's the rest is like, you gotta learn it on your own. You gotta get some punches on you. It's gonna hurt. You gotta deal with rejection. Rejection is such an asshole sometimes. But if you're not fit to deal with rejection, you're gonna suffer. Like
Hmm.
if you can't deal with rejection, you can't be a commentator, because you're gonna get rejected all the time. Um, you have to work on it. And I have a couple friends who struggle with that. It's like, you gotta get tougher. There's really not much anything else I can say about that. But that's I think that's about it. I think those are the advices I wish. And be patient.
Yeah.
I
Ain't gonna happen
I
overnight.
was I was very impatient at the beginning, which admittedly maybe that helped, but it was extremely unhealthy for me.
um, I don't know if we touched on this, but I do have one last real question
Mm,
about some of that early time frame.
mm.
What was your first American event like, being in America, and what was that like?
Okay.
For anyone that reaches that level and it's like, I can finally commentate in the US, what was that like coming here? What was that opportunity like, being able to come here? What was the best and worst of figuring out, now that I can do it, what's something that I didn't think about or I didn't realize I needed to do in order to come here? Because again, having flying out Momo to be in SoCal or in
See,
PNW is a lot different than flying you out to go to Let's Make Moves Miami or something.
see, my first event, and I think the most important one for me is it is one of the most important ones, because it's how I managed to like break that border, break that wall. It was San Diego getting the game 2021 in the hands of Slicer.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he was the first one to believe in me. I mean, it was technically Vans with the MSMs
Mm-hmm.
online, because the border was closed during the pandemic. I
Yeah.
couldn't cross the border.
Yeah.
Um, so again, technically it was Vans with MSM, but the first time I went in person, it was Slicers getting the game 2021 in San Diego, and it changed everything. Like, I knew that I was not nervous, because I mean, my beginnings as a commentator were in English, so I felt right at home. which is kind of weird. As soon as I'm on the mic, I'm not nervous. I don't hesitate. It's
Mhm.
just I turn into I turn into Serk. It's like my persona comes in. It it basically opened up everything. It opened up the floodgates for more events in SoCal, for more events in the Pacific Northwest, and I was always honest. What helped me go through all of that, all of those hurdles of bringing someone out who's out of region. It was just being honest. It's like, hey, I would love to do commentary for your event, because it's always, most of the times, it's me reaching out.
Mhm.
Um, I'm not at that level where they'll DM me and be like, hey, would like you to come to one of our events. Sometimes it happens, but at that point, obviously, it wouldn't. So I had to reach out to a lot of people. And I just was honest, like, hey, I can't do this out of pocket. I would appreciate a lot if you would help me with travel expenses. Not because I couldn't afford it, but because I think that was the right thing for me. Like, if I set that precedent, that would help me establish myself not only as a good commentator, but also as someone worth bringing to your event.
Mhm.
So, of course, that almost cost me a lot of events that were like, hey, we don't see the value. And you know what? I don't blame you guys. I wouldn't see the value either if I just stayed at surface level. So once they realized what I had to offer, the connections, the people that I knew, what I had to offer, it was a little easier for me to like break that hurdle, or hop over that hurdle. But it was it was hard at the beginning because of that reason. I had no way to justify, and I was already like n- very firm on me, like, hey, listen, this is the bare minimum, and if you're gonna do that for someone else, you can do it for me as well.
Mhm.
And I'm sure that I will bring that value back somehow.
Mhm.
And luckily for me, and through the formation that I have, my parents and all of that, what they taught me, it's like, I know I can do that. I'm not picky. I'm not like, oh yeah, you know what? I want a hotel and I want a room of my own. It's like, dude, if you have I'm Mexican after all. If you have a cobija, a
Oh,
blanket,
yeah.
I'm good on the floor. And they get that. Like, they realize that I'm not doing it for money, but I also don't want to lose money
Mhm.
out of this, right? So once you're honest, people realize that, and they're like, okay, fuck it, let's do it. Let's give it a shot. If not, well, I think I think once I did I think it worked. Hey, listen, if I don't deliver or outperform your expectations, I'll pay you back. And it did work. I'm not gonna call the tournament out, but
But it worked in your
I kept
favor?
I kept, yeah, no, it did. I kept the money too, so I was like, yeah, I did my shit. So, yeah, and it opened up more opportunities. So that's basically how, like, I just had to bring forth my full honesty and everything, and it's something that I tried to do because I'm also a bit of a terrible liar. Like, it shows when I'm lying, so I stopped doing that. Like, I'd rather be honest, that if that's gonna get me a kick on the butt, it's like, okay, that's fine. I'm at peace, because I said the truth.
Mhm. Mhm. Is there any other is there anything that you didn't realize about travel to the US that, like, you wish someone else
Nah,
told you, or you kinda
nah.
had an idea?
See, I had an idea. Like, I've been traveling. I've been fortunate enough to have traveled since I was very young. I guess privilege in that sense. So I knew what I had to do. I always tried to like find a better solution for everything. For example, every time I fly out of SoCal, I take the train. I take the trolley, the metro,
Mhm.
and even though I could get an Uber and probably bill it to whoever's taking me, it's like, I'm not gonna do that. I will try to keep expenses down, not only for myself but for the person hiring me. That's why instead of flying from Mexico, I fly from San Diego because I know it's cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
So the easiest thing for me would be to fly from Tijuana. Um, but it's more expensive. It's less flexible with the schedules. So I try to accommodate as much as I can, and that's why it kind of fucks me up when they don't realize that, when they're like, oh well, it's gonna be hard. It's like, no, wait, the thing is that you haven't asked, or you don't care enough to figure out
Mm-hmm.
whether it's gonna be easy or not. That's why I appreciate Diego a whole fucking lot. Diego del Fuego, because he knows that. He knows that I try my best to keep things as simple as possible for them. um so no, in that sense, I pretty much knew what was all that about. I was no stranger to traveling outside of my country. And again, it's not only luck, but also the privilege that
Mm-hmm.
I've always had, and I knew how to take advantage of.
Sir, thank you for your time.
No, thank you.
I love the conversation we were able to have tonight. It was awesome. I'm glad you took the time out of your out of your day to do this.
It was my pleasure.
This was awesome, man. I like I said, I see you online. I've seen you randomly from afar at some different events I've been at.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh hey, that's that guy. But I'm glad we're able to have this conversation, man. Um
I'm glad to.
I before we move on to the very last thing, is there any shout outs? Is there anyone that you wanted to is there anything you wanted to say before we move on to the very last part of the night?
See, I think it's fair to give it up for the people that have my back. I mean, he was here, so I'm gonna start with him. Crimson, Diego, Slicer, like Pixel was here earlier. Like everybody who just stops by, like even if it's for a second, even if it's for a minute, even if it's the whole thing, it means a lot to me. Especially right now, my girlfriend, like she's been extremely supportive. We've had to make some harsh decisions, especially for UFA for France.
Mm-hmm.
She was actually s- s- um she bought her tickets to come visit me here in Tijuana,
Mm-hmm.
because she's from Ciudad de Mexico, and it turned out that her flights were the same weekend that UFA happened, and they
No.
told me like a couple weeks prior to the event that I was accepted, and I was like, we what do we do? And she was extremely supportive. She was like, you have to take that opportunity, and this makes me sentimental as well, emotional. She was so kind, so understanding of that situation, despite the fact that I was feeling so guilty about canceling the plans of her coming over, because that was the first time that she was coming over.
Check the chat.
Um, Ay, te amo. uh, and it meant a whole lot to me because I've had this peace of mind going to a different country, to a different continent, even. So, so yeah, that meant a lot to me, and to every TO and peer that believes in me and that props me up, even when sometimes I don't feel like I deserve it. It means the world to me, and yeah, that's it. And to you as well for having me. It truly meant a lot to me as well.
Oh my god, dude! Seriously, thanks. Like I said, the mission statement basically for this is telling the stories of the scene that like not everyone is going to know,
Mm,
because there's always someone that's able to tell an experience that like someone might have never known. Someone
yeah,
might have never known that flew up to you flew up here in the US for years, that you have family up here. Usually it's the
yeah.
other way around.
See,
Usually
see.
it's the other way around.
Yeah, I have a couple of tios, a couple of tios in Los Angeles. So,
That's fun. Like again, I
see.
would have never known that. I bet a lot of
Yeah,
people who are tuning in or watched this later with the VOD would have never known that either. I I'm glad I got to hear your perspective, the way you see things, how different aspects of your personal life inform how you want to push for the scene, especially for
Mexican
yourself and the Mexican scene itself.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad we're able to have this conversation about that.
Gracias.
Dude, seriously, thank you very much. Thank you for reaching out so that we can actually set this up. It was awesome.
Yeah.
So we're gonna end that part there. Before we actually end the stream, this is the thing that we do every single time.
All right.
And it goes back to our very first one that I did with Major Zine. Shout outs to Oates. You're an amazing person. I'm glad he ended up moving up to NorCal. Not NorCal, somewhere in the PNW. I want to say it was Seattle or something. But the shout outs to him. We're going to do 10 questions. And it's going to be smash, not smash, being about anything, being about nothing. Almost nothing's off almost nothing is like off the table unless you're like being super out of pocket, which I don't suspect you to be out of pocket.
Oops. Think again.
Oh no! It's like, oh God. So what I want you to do, it's going to be you ask 10 questions and then I answer. Them? You ask 10 questions and then I ask 10 questions in a row. But what I wanted to know is heads or tails, and then winner decides what they're going to do.
Okay. So in Mexico, we have cara, sello o águila, which is heads or tails. Águila is eagle. So that one always wins. So I'm going to go with tails. Águila.
Okay. Let's see what we get. Flip again. And we get tails. All right, man. So there you go. Damn, you're the second person that's ever won the coin flip. So what do you want to do, man? Did you want to ask 10 questions or did you want to be asked 10 questions?
I wasn't prepared for 10 questions, though. That's cheating.
That's cheating. We do this all the time.
You ask first, because I'm. I don't know. You caught me off guard, so you ask first.
You know what's funny? The guy from Granola Arcade, he knew this was coming, and it's like he wrote 10 questions ahead of time. He was all like, "Yeah, I knew you were going to do this, and I'm absolutely terrified to think of something on the spot. So I'm just going to write my 10 questions ahead of time."
Okay. What you got then?
All right. First question. Let's do something that's super not related to Smash. What is your favorite trashy American food? So like,
well, trashy. What do you mean trashy? Because I have a favorite American food, but like, what would trashy entail?
Let's say a trashy American fast food restaurant. So like,
okay, Denny's. Sí, el Moon Over Miami. That's my favorite. It's like
that's pretty good.
Like an egg sandwich. Sí, it's pretty good.
What the slamwich though?
No lo he probado. I always go for the Moon Over Miami. I don't care what anything else on the menu. I go for Moon Over Miami.
I would recommend doing the slamwich because they use like a syrup butter on the bread, so they toast it that way, and it has the sausage.
I don't like sweet stuff.
Okay.
Oh, I like it, but like it's not my favorite.
All right, I'm just saying it's a really good because the
slamwich.
The slamwich. Okay. That was the one I recommend. Have you been to Norm's though?
No.
Norm's, there's one. I think depending where you're at, they're all throughout SoCal, but mostly LA. I think the main one most people go to is in North Hollywood. So if you're in LA area or like I guess closer to the Valley, heading over to North Hollywood for that would be a good place to try out. They're open 24/7, so it's a good place to
Norms?
go. Norms. That's a good one. They have a couple other places, but the only one I've been to was the one in North Hollywood. All right. Okay, cool. Denny's. That's actually a really good one.
See.
Best place to go after a tournament too.
See, literally, yeah. And before a tournament too, actually.
Yeah.
Actually, right. Give me 1 second. I'll be back real quick. Okay.
Yeah. Certainly,
I won't take long.
Gotcha. All right. How's it going, chat? How we doing? Doing good so far? We're about to wrap up. I got a couple good questions lined up. There's one that I want to see how he answers, and I hope it's pretty good. Just because it was a video that I watched from a long time ago. It's one of those it's good that I have a native Spanish speaker for this next question, because I want to hear what he says. And that's another way that I can figure out if I'm ever going to be bullied. Also, as always, liquid death. Oh no. There you go. It's being blocked by the mic. You'll never know. You'll never know that I spilled on myself.
Sorry, there was a mess outside, and I had to. They were ringing the door.
Nah, it's all good. It's all good.
Okay.
All right.
So okay. Danny. So second question, right?
All right. So next question I got. So I saw this video a long time ago, and it's the 5 hardest words for English speakers to say in Spanish.
Okay.
And one of them is trastorno.
Okay.
The other one is and I don't even know if I'm saying it right anymore. Otorrinolaringólogo.
Close.
Yeah, it's like I said, I don't know if I'm saying it right anymore.
Okay.
But my question to you is, what's your favorite phrase or word to test people's Spanish with?
I swear a lot, so I usually ask them to say like groserías, like bad words. Pendejo being my favorite one. But that one's pretty easy. Well, it's deceptively easy because they think it's like, oh, pendejo. It's like, no way. Say it right. It's pendejo. It's like you gotta put that emphasis on the ho and the D as well. So I think that's the one, and also my community is very fond of that word because we use it all the time.
Yeah.
So I think that's the one. I think that's the most safe option here. Pendejo being my favorite one.
I was gonna say, what's that one?
And it's not even hard, but like,
yeah, what's that one mountain in? Is it Michoacan? Is it? I don't even know how to properly say it. It starts with the P. It's like
no, Parangaricaturimícuaro.
There you go.
But that's a tongue twister.
Yeah.
Is it a mountain? Is it a mountain too?
Supposedly yeah. I want to say it's a mountain in somewhere in Michoacan, or it's like a valley or something.
I mean, my girlfriend would know, so she probably. ¿Tú sabes si Parangaricaturimícuaro es una montaña o es un trabalenguas? She'll let us know in a second.
All right. Let's find out. Let's pause.
So pendejo.
Pause. Let's find out. Oh, okay, no.
No. Question 3.
All right, question three. Let's actually make this Smash and Fight game related. My favorite one to bust out. Box controllers. Are they cheating?
I don't think they're cheating. I'm a firm believer that you have to play on whatever feels the most comfortable to you.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that a lot of people force themselves. I don't know if it's peer pressure or just tradition at this point to use the GameCube controller when I don't think it's comfortable at all. I use the Pro controller myself. I use the Pro GameCube controller, so
Procon.
So it's like I get
Pro
the benefits
GCC,
of the Pro GCC, yeah.
Yeah.
So I get the benefits of the GameCube connection, but like in the what's the word?
In the comfortability and the form factor of the Procon.
Sí, exacto. Of the Pro controller, and the same goes for box. I think it makes sense that some people like to play with their hands like this, and it's fine if they want to take care of their fingers. Now, does it pose an advantage? Objectively, I mean, yeah, you could have some weird inputs, perfect inputs, some would say.
Hmm.
But also it has a higher skill ceiling to master
Skill
that
floor.
controller. A
A
skill.
floor
See,
because
see the floor, the floor. See, see, see,
the
see, see.
lowest end of what you need to
See, see,
do
see,
is
see.
so
The
high
floor.
up. Yeah. I say that
Justo, the floor.
because I got
No, I
my
saw that.
gram
See,
right here.
see, see, see.
I got
I saw that. Yeah.
my big
Is that a
summit from
micro?
granola
Ah, granola.
and
Ah, el
my
micro.
my favorite, the nanogram.
El nano, sí, cierto. I actually pre-ordered the I should be getting it this March. I don't know if you've seen the junk foods
Oh, the swirl. Yes.
Sí, güey.
Oh my god.
El swirl. I'm excited about that. That's gonna be my PC controller for everything.
That's gonna
for
be
Rivals,
amazing.
for Street Fighter, for Monster Hunter, for everything, dude.
Oh yeah. It's funny
amazing.
because you'll be able to play Kazuya Smash at Kazuya Tekken. And you'll still be able to do perfect electrics.
Right. Right. Yeah, I'm excited about that. It's my first box. I don't know. I saw it as like, dude, I think that's what I need because I don't. I think leverless controls are great,
Mhm.
but I don't. I don't know. It feels weird without the inputs. You know.
Yeah, yeah. Being able to do those inputs. Yeah, I got you.
Say.
All right. I got another one here. Let's see. Let's go with. Also, real quick, this is my first leverless.
A ver.
I like busting this out. This is my first leverless.
No mames, you did it yourself. Oh, dude, that's amazing. That's wild. Does it still work?
Yeah, it works. I just need to flash the new firmware on there, and I could use it on PC or Switch.
That's amazing.
Actually, this because of me doing this, I helped talk or kind of gave like a little bit of like additional information to Mike from Granola because he sold it's called the camp kits, and what they are is they are 3D printed reinforcements so that you can just cut a perfect hole, and this will reinforce the cardboard itself, and you can put in the switches and you can make your own leverless on using the box that it ships in with.
Shit. That's wild. That's crazy.
Yeah. All you need to do is solder it yourself and get like a little Pico board. And you can make your own leverless controller with it. So if you're in the market for that, just go to Granola Arcade.
I don't think I am. That's the thing. I was scared of not liking it. That's why I didn't pre-order it earlier. But at Genesis, they had a test box for the Swirl. And I was like, yeah, it was immediate. Like I tried it with Rivals too.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, it's perfect. It's exactly what I thought it would be.
Exactly what you needed.
See, and I'm excited for that.
If you ever end up going full leverless, I do recommend
hopefully not.
If you ever do go full leverless, the two that I recommend is the Graham. Because it's easy.
I've seen that.
So Graham, they're great people. Based out of Texas, they're cool folk. Or if you want some analog inputs, there's the Orca. Have you seen that one?
See, I've seen that. It's like a rhomboid kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So ya sé cuál es. It's no. It has like the thumb long buttons, right?
Yeah, for the fingers on the for your directions and the up, right? So Orca, they use I guess like the equivalent would be like a holofix switch, where like, oh, you can get an analog press and it will be the equivalent of moving the analog stick back and forth. It lets you get precise movement while using the box form factor. So, so yeah, the Orca, that's that. If you wanna do that but still have some analog, the Orca is the one I recommend.
Hopefully I don't fall in that
in the rabbit hole.
in that rabbit hole. Yeah. I hope that it's because it's not cheap.
No, but it's super worth it. Well,
I guess
I made my Graham. So the only thing from Graham is is just the board, and
Mm-hmm.
this back
Plate.
one, the bottom plate. But I
It's clean.
I 3D printed these the keycaps. This is a custom cut piece of acrylic. I 3D printed the frame. Yeah, all of this is
Nice.
fully customized. Oh no!
Oh, sorry about that. That's my fault.
No, don't worry about it, man. That was my fault for trying to get too fancy with it. Oh no, my stuff's falling apart. Whatever, we're good. All right, question number 4. Ooh. What's one food place that you wish the US could import from Mexico? Like what either restaurant like chain or like what local kind of place?
Ooh. So a Mexican place in the States?
Yeah, that you wish that the US can import. Like what's place?
That's a good question. Probably a good taqueria, like an actual good taqueria, good tacos. It's something that you guys are missing,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not your fault. It's just that you guys you don't have the right ingredients for most of the taco cuisine, actual taco cuisine. And again, I think it's something that you mentioned earlier about how traditions and generations lose those connections. You know, so you have tacos and they're all right, but they're not like actual tacos. Entonces, it's something that I wish that I could just go for. Oh, you know what? Instead of going to Denny's, I'm going to Los Pablos, you know, or or something like that. Tacos, good tacos. You deserve good tacos.
I think I do. I do want to take you. I want to say I'm just adding the van pool now of like people I want to take to Angeles Tacos because that's my favorite place, right? But like the thing is, it's an hour and a half away from me.
Oh,
I'm like an hour and a half north of like LA. Mm-hmm. So like I'm pretty up there. So the fact that I always go down there is just like it's my spot. So I'll go back. Just like the tamale place that I go to. They do estilo Nayarit.
Nice.
Yeah, so they do those kinds, and I still haven't found any that I liked more than theirs. Shout out to Rosie's Tamales over there in the San Fernando Valley. Nice. I make the trek over there, man, because Jesus fucking Christ,
you have to.
It's hard because literally the best restaurant that I ever been to was just like someone's like front yard that they put like plastic tables. Right?
Supuestito, yeah.
That's all it is. It was in it's in Michoacan. That's what it was. From where my mom was from. My mom's from like a little pueblo. Like
they have really good cooks over there.
It's somewhere between Uruapan and Nueva Italia. So it's like I think like the main road is maybe like just like 4 kilometers like long, and then you just drive right past it afterwards.
Right.
It's one of those kinds of like tiny pueblos. It's not exactly. Sí. But it was basically the neighbor's house. That was probably the best restaurant I've ever been to. Which side note, the first Michelin star like taqueria is built out of someone's house in El DF. And I forgot the name of the place. Yeah, it's a Michelin star restaurant, which is super hard to get, and it's just out of someone's house.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, we had some taqueria here in Tijuana get a Michelin star as well.
Really?
A couple of them, I think. I don't know how it works. But yeah, that was not too long ago. That was like last year, I think.
Woo, damn, that's crazy. Okay, let's see. Where are we? Question 5. We're on question number 5. What? How can I ask this question? What's the one thing that people make an assumption about you that you realize is a very weird assumption to have about you?
Well, okay. It's not weird because I think it's justified to some degree. But some people think that I'm genuinely an asshole, and it's like, listen, I understand why you think that. Um, it's just that w- I guess that along with they think that I'm stubborn. I am stubborn, but like
But not that kind of
intransigent.
stubborn.
No. Like in a sense that you cannot sway me. You cannot persuade me because my mind is set, and they think
Hmm.
that, and it's like, hey, wait, it's really not that hard to sway me. You just need to come forth with a convincing argument, and I will listen to you, and I will try to understand where you're coming from. But they think that I'm stubborn like that,
That you
and
won't
that I
change your
don't care
mind.
about. Aha, aha. And it's so weird to me because it's like I've always been extremely open about like, hey, if you have something to fix or something to talk about, I'm here to listen.
Hmm.
If you're willing to give me a serious your time for to having a serious conversation, I will sit down and seriously listen to you as well, because it's not easy to do those kinds of things, put yourself forth like that. So I understand that it's hard, and I try to be understanding of what they're doing or trying to achieve.
Mm.
But people really think that I'm stubborn beyond comprehension. So it's like, well, you don't know me. That's the thing.
There you
Um,
go.
it's funny. It's very funny to me. But okay, you don't care enough to like get close enough to know me.
All right. Um. Ooh, number 6. I think I like this. I think I like this because there's something I know.
Mm.
Um. But what's a funny culture shock thing that Americans don't get about Mexico? That's like, wait, what do you mean? That's was it either, oh, what do you mean it's not that way? Or they say, why is that? What's a funny culture shock thing?
Oh, funny. Oh, I was gonna say like in general, I think they think that it's more dangerous than it actually is. Again, it's not their fault. It's just the media that ingrains them
Yeah.
into their brain. It's really not that scary. Like I
Yeah.
honestly, I've felt more threatened sometimes in the States than I have in Mexico.
Oh yeah, 1000%.
Actually, in Genesis, I'm not gonna go into like full detail, but I went to the airport on bicycle because I rented it. I rented it and it was close enough, so I was like, yeah, I can do that. But my flight was at 4 a.m., 6 a.m. So I was
Hmm.
like 4 a.m. on a bike.
Hmm.
It was all good and dainty, and I was having a lot of fun. It was cold as fuck, but I enjoyed it. But then I had to cross a trail, like a wooden, like a forest trail,
Hell
and
no.
I was
The
like,
fuck?
and it was dark, and there was no lights. I was like, dude, I'm gonna die here. 100%, I'm gonna die. There was no other way around, so I had to go through that short trail. It was like less than a mile for sure. Um, but I went in super dark. There was like cross paths, like like intertwining together.
Hell
I was
no.
just booking it in like super as fast as I could, and then on one of those turns, I almost go into like an area where there were homeless people with their
Yeah.
tents, and I was like, I'm gonna fucking die here. They're gonna freak out, like, what the fuck are you doing here? And they're gonna get aggressive, and I don't know, like genuinely feared for my life. I haven't
Yeah.
felt that in so long. Like my instinct was telling me, like, dude, you shouldn't go in
Be
there,
doing
but you
that, yeah.
have to because that's the only way to the airport. And I'm like, I did it, and I was so scared. Like it was like right next to a creek, like those
Oh
kinds of
god, yeah.
CSI murder scenes, like
Yeah.
when you find the body the next day,
I was gonna
just
be
like
you
that.
for a second, huh?
Speedway, and I was like, no, I'm gonna fucking die here. So yeah, I think that's a funny misconception that they have, that it's more dangerous than it actually is.
Yeah.
Um, it's just what they know.
Yeah. I think my favorite one is people don't understand that you have to pay to use the bathroom sometimes.
Mm, sometimes, yeah, it depends on the spot, but yeah.
Yeah. So I was a discussion in one of my classes. They're like, yeah, we always have to bring a roll with us because they charge you for the toilet paper.
See,
And the people were like, what? Or it's the teacher really, because Majority of us are either immigrants or children of immigrants. So we know it's like depending on what
Right.
part of the city that you
Sí,
go,
sí, sí, sí.
it's
Sí,
like
sí.
I think it's like most of the time like 5 pesos or something, and then
Sí,
like
sí, sí, something like that. Something small.
and then like another 5 for the toilet paper.
Right.
And some of them are fucking escandalo because they'll ask for the toilet paper back and they won't reimburse you if you don't use it.
Yeah. Yep.
So that's my one.
Yeah, that's a weird one.
That's the one I get people with, and they always go, "What?"
Right.
Oh,
funny,
okay.
indeed.
Number 7. Oh God, what was it? Ooh, what can I do with this one? Well, actually, you know what? I like asking this question, and I want to hear you answer this one. It's a question that I get from another podcast called Goods from the Woods. I've actually taken different energy drinks there. So like this one, the Volt, I actually took one and we drank it. We drank it there. Nice. My brother went to Japan and Korea and he brought me some Korean energy drinks. Nice. And I took it over there and we tried it over there. It was good stuff. But they have one question. Favorite thing from your childhood that isn't there anymore?
That's a nice question. I guess the glee, the excitement of experiencing new things in a way, in such an innocent way. I think as we grow, we start giving attributes to things that shouldn't be there. Like I was talking with my girlfriend about this earlier, not yesterday. Like even something as simple as hanging out with your friends, like it just becomes a commitment now. Like you have to schedule sometimes. Like, hey, I have to cancel something or make sure that I don't schedule something over it in order for me to go to your house and chill out, watch a movie, play some games, like even watch you play while I play my own thing. And I miss that. I miss like just going to your friend's house and being able to like, well, in this case, in Mexico's, from a Mexican standpoint, playing on the streets, that's no longer a thing. So I guess that would be my final answer. Like just being
Playing
able to experience that. See,
playing in the streets. Oh,
see,
very heartbreaking,
nice.
but great answer. I love it.
It was nice.
Where are we? Question number 9.
Yeah.
Question number 9. Ooh, okay. Here's this one. I need to preface this one. Do you have any tattoos?
Okay. No.
No.
I want one, but
you want one? Okay. I need to know if you had a tattoo and you got like, let's say you got a decent sized piece or whatever. Are you scared of telling your parents if you got one?
Nah. Well,
okay.
It's funny. It's funny because I wouldn't be scared, but my mom is always like super against it. So if I did get one, it's like, hey, mira, mama, look what I got, and she'll like, oh, no, and like, you know what? It's fine. Nothing will happen. I wouldn't be scared. I have a very cautious relationship with my parents, and they trust me with whatever I do. Ever since I moved out, they've trusted me a lot.
Yeah,
I wouldn't get in trouble. I probably could get in trouble, yeah, but I would just laugh it out, I don't fear my parents.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Yeah, because that's a funny. That's a
Did
funny
you get in trouble?
No, that's a funny stereotype of like, oh, no matter how old you are,
see,
and in a Mexican household, no matter how old you are, you could be 45 years old with kids. You do one thing that your parents don't like, and then you're in trouble all of a sudden.
See. No, I usually give them more trouble than they give me trouble.
All right. And the very last question. Oh God, the last one's a really, really fun one to always try to figure out where I want to go, whether I want to go smash or not. But considering the overall theme of our conversation, I think this is a great question. We do ask this question from time to time. Um, you get the call. We're like, Serk, we're gonna let you. You're gonna go to the tournament of your dreams, and you're gonna cast the freaking top 32, top 16, up to top 8, and you get to choose who you're gonna bring up to the stage with you to cast with it. But the problem is, it is the most horrendous audio that has ever transpired, and the commentary is going to be gross and garbage. But you don't know that. Who are you going to take on? Who are you going to pick to share? Probably what it would be one of your best commentary blocks, but unfortunately the audio was garbage. Who would you take down with you?
As always, and no questions asked, it's Dio. It's my fellow commentator, my fellow teammate, both in Smash Factor, both in Astros of Reset, more recently. Dio has been my rock, basically. He taught me patience within the scene. He kept me in check. He allowed me to express myself, to feel, to hate, to. He's always been there. And it would make it even more special to have the audio be fucked up because in hindsight, well, first of all, it has happened before, and it gave us insane moments, very memorable moment that I'll try to find, but I can't promise that I will find it. I let me see real quick. No, I can't. I'll have to look for it on my phone. And it's funny. It's funny as hell because audio just cuts off when we're singing La Gata Bajo la Lluvia. Like, I don't know if you know that song, but it's funny. It's insane, and even if it's ruins the clip, I don't care. I was there with my brother.
That's awesome.
So
man.
it's Dio, Saints Dio. I'm gonna put it in chat. He's a great figure and great mentor as well.
Hell yeah.
There you go. That's my goat.
There you go, man. So there you go. I asked my 10 questions, man. All there right. It is. Now it's your turn. You can ask whatever 10 questions you want. Like I said, as long as it's not something crazy out of pocket.
Right. Okay. You mentioned that you didn't grow up in Mexico, right?
Correct. Well, yeah.
What, by proxy, because you didn't experience it, what do you think you would enjoy the most out of what your family has shared with you about how great or how good it was back here?
I think it's conflicted because if my dad had the choice, we would probably, even though we would visit his side of the family, we'd probably end up living closer to my mom's side of the family in Michoacan. Like it's so relaxing out there because it's a tiny little pueblo, right? It's not. There's a certain slowness to everything, right? There's a certain slowness to being out in the pueblo because it's not as modernized. They didn't get most of the homes there didn't get internet access until probably 2010, and up until that point only maybe a handful of the houses did, and they relied on one cyber cafe. That would have been a great place to just to feel like a new kind of reset. But if it came for the convenience sake, it would probably be where my dad is from, because of the part of Leon that he's from is much more modernized. A lot of homes had internet at the time. Well, the last time I went, because the last time I went to Mexico was probably in 2008. Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
This was gap.
Before. This was this is the last months before Obama became president over here, man.
Yeah, it's
So it was a long time
long
ago.
time ago.
Long time ago, right? But like being out there is much more modernized. Where my dad's from, um, there's a lot of like internet access, self service access out there. Was it was crazy that it was out there because again, most places that we visited was closer to where my mom was from. Like yeah, we would drive up north to Wapan or whatever, but like, or sometimes we go down to Nueva Italia, but like it was different. Um, so I experienced it as a way to reset my expectations of what it's really like out there because I know what it's like out there from those experiences in a way where like I wouldn't have a problem if I were lived out there for a couple months out of the year because
Right.
I know what it's like. I know where I can and can't go because I know how cities work.
See,
I know how a city
basically,
works. Like
yeah,
if once you put more people together, the idea of crime happens. That's just how it is. Doesn't matter what
right.
country you're in. Um but yeah, like I feel like as far as like just what I miss about that, like that I feel like I won't be able to truly experience is really living there for the sake of actually living there, not just like going there to hang out and visit family.
Mm.
I think that's the only real thing because again, I've been there. So much has definitely changed. Like it's been what was it 13 no 17-ish years since I was last there.
Yeah.
So it's things are a lot different, but it would be cool to experience again if I ever had the chance.
All right. Question number 2.
Uh-huh.
What is a role? What is the role that you think or that you believe you're fulfilling in your community? Speaking about the Smash community,
Hmm.
and does it align with the role that you are or that you want to fulfill, that you want to achieve, the goal that you're trying to accomplish in the community? What are you doing now, and how does it align to what you want to do, like in the end when you're done?
I think I set out the idea of like again telling those stories, talking to people, and talking to people who aren't the big names of everything, right? It's the mission statement of all this, right? Am I doing as good of a job with it? Not really as much because I should be going probably to more locals, to regional events, just because it's a better opportunity to like to talk to people in person because it's then you hear the even smaller voices, the local voices, I was able to do that a handful of times, and then being able to go to events was a little bit more tricky, especially because I live so far away from most of them, and I have a full time job. I like travel
Yeah.
in the U.S. sucks because it's so car centric.
See,
Having to be 2 hour, a total of like 3 to 4 hours of my day is spent driving
see.
to and from work. Um, and even though I have a pretty decent schedule, the tiredness from all of that really builds. So that's the only thing that I feel like I'm not doing as much, like going to smaller or local events. Um, but the idea of talking to people so that people can hear different stories, that's the thing I want to do. And I feel like I'm doing it. Whether I need to do it more often, probably. Probably. But like I'm talking to people that like most people don't hear from, right? Again, most people out here don't know your story, don't know how you came
Mm.
up. They didn't know that you flew up here all the time to the US. You know, there was Momo and his story and how he came up like just basically by accident
Mm.
of like finding the scene and talking about his struggles as growing up as a Palestinian.
Mm.
Azura, the same thing, his time coming up in the scene and dealing with international international stuff as well. um we have there's a TL and commentator out here, Dr. No, and talking about how her time frame within the Smash and FGC, and then her coming out and reconciling and understanding her transness, and how the community came together to look out for her, so that she knows that the scene is here for her, however she needs the scene to be here for her. So all these kinds of things, I'm getting these stories out there, and that's what's important to me. And if I look at it just in those metrics, I'm doing exactly what I'm doing, and I'm accomplishing those goals.
Nice. Hey, good shit. All right. For number 3, we're gonna keep it a little bit simpler.
Okay.
If you had to delete
Okay.
one of the controllers that we use for Smash, whether it's the ones you get from GameStop, those generic ones, to a box, to GameCube controller, Pro controller, which one would you delete? Like, I was like, why do even Joy-Cons? Like, where do you stand, and what's the worst controller out there for playing?
The worst controller.
See, the one you'd be like, dude, I'm doing you a favor, deleting it.
The worst controller, 1000%, is Joy-Con. But there's this one little Mac main, I forgot his name, and he stands up and he's in boxing stance, and that's how he plays. And he usually goes like 4-2 with Joy-Con. And there's this one guy too. He goes by Joy-Con Jesus, and he plays on a single Joy-Con.
I've heard about him. Yeah. And he does well. That's the worst.
And he does well. That's the crazy shit. So like, if we can delete Joy-Con, that's what I would. That's me personally. That's the worst controller. Everything else is fun.
What about the Switch 2? If Joy-Cons are so bad, why are there a Switch 2 now? A Joy-Con 2.
Well, that's going to be better because they're going to be bigger, and then you can play like
the mouse, right? Sí cierto.
Imagine doing an electric like that.
Yeah, that'd be fun. That'd be cool. Not gonna lie. All right.
Yeah, Joy-Con. That'd be the competitive thing I would delete.
All right, Joy-Cons. Okay. Aside from Smash, what else do you find passion in? As in, whether it's collecting, because I see you have a lot of stuff. Whether it's your job, like where's your passion at aside from Smash?
I think the best way to say is tinkering.
Nice.
I think tinkering is the best way to put it. Like this table right here, the table where my PC's at. I built this. I took some project board and some 2x4. I stained it. Put a clear coat on there and did that.
That's cool.
The fact I 3D printed. I 3D printed my frame for my controller. Just like setting this up, my whole rig, everything right here. It's all tinkering. That's what I like doing. I like putting things together. So like if a furniture pieces like needs to be put together, I like doing that. I haven't gotten to the point where I started building my own PC because Lord, that's really expensive.
Right? Well, not as expensive as buying it like pre-built, but like
no, this one's pretty
stressful.
Pretty all right because then again I got it during a sale. Getting it during a sale, like you got to know when if you're gonna buy pre-built, you got to know when, right? So it's a pretty good. I got a pretty good deal. Like parted out, it was more expensive buying the parts than it would have been buying this PC pre-built.
Right, because of the sale.
Exactly.
Have you ever heard of what's it called? Gaming Legends in SoCal?
Yeah.
The venue.
That's the one in Burbank, no?
I'm not sure.
I want to say it's in Burbank.
It's where Slicer hosted most of his tournaments in big regions.
No. That's
Gaming Legends.
That's in I want to say it's in Irvine. Irvine.
No, it's not the one then.
Oh, it's not it?
Down in San Diego. No, Gaming Legends. It was a local here.
Well,
they closed out a couple years ago, and they were a gaming center, and I bought the computer from them.
So yeah, it sucks that happened, but it's cool that happened. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, tinkering, that would be the best thing because
Nice.
I like dealing with like little 3D print projects and stuff
Hmm.
like that. There's like this stand.
You did it yourself. Yeah.
I
Uh-huh.
found the file, 3D printed it
Nice.
myself. There's also this other one that I 3D printed.
Hmm.
There's this cat that's also a cell phone stand, 3D
Nice.
printed. Some of the shelving and some of the brackets are 3D printed.
Mm,
I also made someone for my fiance for her as well, and just
nice.
just tinkering.
Tinkering. That's a good one.
I mean,
I
bro,
like that.
I made a controller out of cardboard, dude.
Yeah, yeah, that solidifies that for sure. All right. Genres, gaming genres.
Yeah.
You like fighting games?
Mm-hmm.
I see your fight sticks.
Mm-hmm.
Which other ones do you enjoy?
Oh, dude, that's the problem, dude, because
Just fighting?
it's mostly fighting games. Like
Mm,
I really loved Gears of War's third person
yeah,
shooter.
that was
Gears of
good.
War's was a great game. Um, and Borderlands. That's another like favorite game of mine. So like
It was fun as
those
well.
kinds of shooter games, but like actually like COD and Battlefield and all that jazz, I ain't about that. But it's mostly fighting games.
No platformers either.
Shoot, I think when I was younger, I really liked platformers a lot more when I did play games.
Metroidvanias.
Yeah, and just just Mario, obviously, and shit, and
Mm.
um,
Because I never
Tony
liked Mario
Hawk.
myself.
Tony
Tony
Hawk
Hawk?
actually.
Dude, that was a good
Love
one.
love me some Tony Hawk. Love me some Tony
Yeah,
Hawk.
that was a good one.
Probably that's probably the game series I've played the most growing up. Tony Hawk. Because I was also like again because I was in the punk scene, skating was like right there as
Right.
well.
Yeah, that makes sense. The music, all of that. Yeah,
All
that's
that, dude. Like yeah. So the fact that like oh, dude, people are listening to the Addicts and Goldfinger. That's awesome.
mm,
So yeah. So outside, I think probably my favorite is playing Tony Hawk. I guess I don't think that's a genre, but Tony Hawk.
no, I mean it's what would it be? Sports? No,
Because it's not like a simulator.
urban. What was
It's
that?
not it's not a simulator because like the closest simulator is like playing Skate. With
Right.
Skate, you have to use the thumbsticks to control your hand move, the board movements
Actual gravity as well.
yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
And there's a learning curve to it, right?
Mm.
Also Need for Speed, so like racing games were also a really good time.
Mhm.
Really love that. Like so, Need for Speed, Diddy Kong Racing, Mario Kart, all that was super fun time.
All right. Question number 6.
Yeah.
Do you ever find yourself going back to the retro games, or are you like more of like, okay, you know what? I played those games. I'm gonna stick to what I have right now to like the newer games. Because I mean we're old, so
Yeah, it's
So, I
hard
mean-
because some retro games are there's some games that are retro and we don't want to admit it.
Shut up. Cállate,
güey. Come on, man. You gotta
that's not
admit,
true.
Dude, 360 was 20 years ago.
Dude, the GameCube, that's not retro, that's rather new.
No, dude, what are you talking about? The PS the Xbox 360 is not retro. It has HDMI. Yeah, I mean, it's mostly like handheld stuff like that I do play that are retro games. So Pokemon, Tetris,
See.
whatever was on Game Boy Advanced or Game Boy
See.
Color, like that's a lot of the retro gaming I do or would do. Because not too many games hold up when you think of like how they operate. Like the engine's just like not good for a lot of different kinds of games.
Why?
As there's some games that like if you missed it in the time frame, it's not going to hit the same.
I guess you're
right. There's just some games where, as timeless as they are, if you didn't get it in that time frame, it's unfortunately a loss. And you kind of see it through the lens of modern games and modern storytelling rather than what it was when it came out.
Yeah, that makes sense. I feel you. I
Yeah.
I do find myself catching myself playing old games, especially the Pokemon ones.
Oh yeah, 1,000%. That's where I'm at. That's my jam.
But yeah, I like Star Fox a lot for
Oh yeah,
some reason. The Nintendo 64 is my jam. Basically,
yeah.
that's my retro.
That's the
my
good one. Yeah. I
that's my
mean,
good
I
one.
also have Slippy on here, so I boot up Slippy every now and then.
Okay, so you do play Melee. All right.
I do boot up Slippy every now and then.
I'll give it
And
a try once the my swirl comes in. Maybe I can play a little better.
yeah, maybe. I mean, there's also Brawl 2.
No, no.
If you
All
catch
right.
my drift.
Yeah, I do. Question number 7. I actually had one, and it kind of slipped off my mind. So give me a second.
Yeah.
It was also related to games.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remembered. How do you feel about how most of the games in this gen or moving forward from a couple years past,
Mm-hmm.
um, how they're gearing up more towards the open worlds, like generated stuff? How do you feel about that? Do you feel that having a route? I mean, we grew up like that, right? Like we
Yeah.
had an established route
Everything's
and we
on
had to
rails.
follow it. So about now being almost everything being open, how do you feel
Mhm.
about that?
I think the problem with that is like if you're doing it to follow the trend, it's just going to we're just producing more slop, right? And that's the problem with the move towards big open worlds, because it happened for a bit and then they kind of closed the worlds a little bit more, and but then they started expanding it again to the big old sandbox. And if it's chasing a trend, which it kind of usually is, you're not going to produce quality gaming, right? Because as much as the idea of, oh, we can create this large sandbox can create all kinds of beautiful story opportunities, it's not going to if it's all it's doing to do just, like I said, push slop. There's the idea of the more unified everything becomes, the less choice you have, the more it all just feels the same. That's why every Call of Duty is literally the exact same thing over and over again.
Right.
That's why like the biggest games every year, it's FIFA, NFL, or Madden, Call of Duty. It's like it's these same slop games every year. And if the move is to create open worlds, you're gonna create something different, but you're just creating more open world slop. And that's just the end result of capitalism and how we move to maximize the potential of profits rather than the idea of creating a piece of artwork. You'll still get those pieces of artwork in certain games, and they can touch veins of storytelling that haven't been touched before if a company's willing to go out of their way to do it. But if you're just doing it for a trend, just letting capitalism do its thing, and we're already in the throes of late stage capitalism, so games are just inherently going to be worse. So when the ones that do hit, they are hitting for a reason, whether they're open world or not. So, long story short, it's capitalism. It doesn't fucking matter.
All right. Okay, another quick question that goes related to what you just explained in this previous one. Graphics or storytelling? Again, or rather, an example. Nintendo. What Nintendo does, which is cartoony stuff, but like trying to like build a world around it, or something highly graphical, something technologically requiring.
I think my problem with that, it's the same capitalism critique that I have of graphically we're hitting a wall where there's absolute diminished returns. You can't go any
Right.
further than where we're at as far as like major leaps and bounds. Like the jump from Super Nintendo to
Super Mario.
64,
Mm-hmm.
that is an enormous leap, going from 2D
Right.
to 3D in the way that
Right.
that's done. Going from basic polygons in N64 to the PlayStation, the PS2, and then from the PS2 to the online era of PS3 and Xbox 360.
Mm-hmm.
These are major
Huge.
leaps where you can push the graphical and that can enhance your story.
Mm-hmm.
But we're at a point where the more you want to push the graphics and that's the only thing one you're focused on, you're missing out on being able to do a great story.
Mm.
So I would rather have the better story because you could tell amazing stories with 16-bit, with relatively low polygon.
Right.
Like the Switch is running on 10-year-old hardware at this point.
Yeah.
And it's still pushing some crazy shit because there's certain optimizations tricks that they've gone to, right? The Switch 2 is rumored to be as powerful as a PS4
Yes.
Pro.
See.
So there's a lot of horsepower there and you can do a lot with it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you know how to use your hardware, you can trick people into thinking it's doing a lot more than it does. And that's how you can get these better stories out there.
The Xenoblades, right?
Exactly. Again, we're at as closest to the end goal as possible as we can with certain graphical leaps and bounds.
Mm-hmm.
And if all you want to do is push hardware like you're not doing anything to advance games. Again, late stage capitalism is just pushing these ideas forward rather than the idea of like we can do something with it.
Right. Good. I agree with that. Actually, even though it's kind of cringe to defend Nintendo sometimes, they do that quite well. Like they invest in the heart, the soul rather of the games that they put out.
That's why that's why so many Nintendo games still hold up. Decades later, right?
Right.
There's games that are older than us that like hold up extremely well.
Right.
Because they focused on the optimization rather than, oh my god, the most intense graphical thing, like
maximization. Yeah,
exactly. Like look at the Dreamcast, that shit failed, and it was the more powerful piece of hardware. Just saying.
All right. Okay, question number 9. We're getting close to the end, and for this one, we're gonna keep it simple.
Okay, we'll see.
But this is gonna put you on the spot. Actually.
Oh, let's find out.
How do you handle spices? How much of a real Mexican are you?
Well, it depends on what you mean.
It doesn't depend.
No, it really
does. Chile, salsa, picante.
So, have you seen the fire noodles?
Uh-huh.
So those are really good. Like I have a big old pack of them.
Okay.
It's my favorite one. As far as Scovilles, I think that's like 2 to 3 times as hot as habaneros. Like these noodles, and I have them on the regular.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's like I think about 2 times as hot as habanero.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah. And then they have a 2-time spice that like that one gets a little more extreme, but like it just tastes gross by comparison.
Wait. There comes a point where it's too spicy that it's not actually disgusting.
Yeah, like, but like they're also not that bad. Like people are like fucking freaking out. Like years ago, it was the spicy noodle challenge. I don't know if you remember, or they do that and they add the sriracha. That's what those noodles are, and I just eat them on the regular, and they're really good.
All right.
Yeah, it's I think it's Baldock from Sanyan.
Buldak.
Yeah, that's the
I actually have some. I haven't tried them yet. I got them as a gift not too long ago from a coworker, and I haven't had the chance to like.
Because supposedly it's twice as hot as habaneros. Like, listen, I've had habanero in my time frame,
Right.
And ramen noodles hotter. I don't know, maybe it is, but I just eat that shit on the regular. I've
Okay.
the actual the I buy the bottle of sauce by itself. Oh my god, it's so good. It's so
All
good.
right. Okay. So you are Mexican after all. You have it in you.
It's
You're
good,
safe.
man. Like
It
sriracha's
is good.
bullshit by comparison.
See, that's just bullshit. See. 100% agree. I don't like it. I actually don't like the taste.
No, so that like the taste is amazing to me when you mix it the
I don't
right
like sriracha.
yeah, you gotta have it with the right thing. Like the thing that people like growing up, everyone loved tapatio,
I don't love it.
but the problem is it's too vinegary in a way
Yeah,
that's like very metallic. That's why
it
I also
tastes American.
that's why I
El
don't
tapatio.
that's why I don't like Tabasco either.
Nah,
Right.
tampoco. Yep.
But the Valentin, that's the other one
Valentina.
yeah, Valentina,
See,
that's the other one that we have out
that's a
here.
good one.
Yeah, it's good, right? But yeah, the I would recommend eating those, right? And if you just want to like spice it up a little bit, well, not spice it up, dress it up a little bit, put 2 pieces of American cheese in there and like let it melt and like swirl it around. Oh,
No.
oh, no, my man, I'm telling you,
I'll
is
think
good.
about it. I
Have it
doubt.
by itself. Have it by itself first.
Okay. Okay.
And
Okay.
add like if you think like, oh, how can I dress this up a little bit? Add some
Okay, con
American
quesito.
cheese. Yeah.
Quesito. Okay. Okay.
But
Okay.
I'm saying American cheese because it melts a certain kind of way.
See. I know. I know.
Yeah.
I know the yellow slices, right?
Yeah.
See. All right. Last question.
All right.
When you do these interviews,
Mm-hmm.
you obviously take a little bit of your guest. What are your expectations, like your personal expectations
Mm-hmm.
from your guests to take from you?
I think the only thing I expect my guests to get out of this and out of these conversations is I expect them to speak with the idea of I'm letting a part of myself out there so people know about me.
Mm.
The expectation that I have for the guests are I want them to know that they can speak what they need to, speak from their experiences and not feel like they can't own up to the things that they want to say, right?
Mhm.
I don't know if you had a chance to watch back with Yin. It was a very emotional journey that we went on, and the whole conversation that we had. Like with Momo and his experience as a Palestinian
Mhm.
and dealing with the world, and that inherently the fact that he is Palestinian is a extremely difficult thing to contend with, that while most people are on his side, the places that we live in see him as an absolute enemy.
Right.
And the fact that he's able to speak to who he is and still be authentic to himself and feels like he's able to
Mhm.
is something I'm glad I'm able to set for this. The fact that anyone can speak what they need to and speak to their experiences in a way where they know it's a place where they can actually express it the way that they feel that they can finally do it if they never had the chance to.
Right.
That this is going to be out there for if someone had some question about their life, and he's like, hey, I was actually here and I actually talked about it right here, and if I can't talk about it to you right now, you can just go ahead and watch.
Mhm.
That's the real expectation that I have. Is it kind of weird that some people have like had that have had crazy leaks on here? Like Graham, they leaked that the fact that they were pushing out their newest version, the new Slim that they put out, they showed that off. Granola showed off or leaked that they were working on their own leverless for platform fighters called the Plateau. Leaked the name and everything.
Nice. Nice.
Jerry leaked the fact that a bunch of different locals were coming out. I think this was also before Wave Dash 23. So he announced it before it was officially announced.
Jerry. Shout out to Jerry.
Shout out to Jerry. Did you know he moved?
Nowhere.
He moved to I think he said Reno. So he's in
Nevada?
So he moved to Reno, Nevada. If I saw correctly, because the major fires that were happening out here were starting to hit towards Somar, in the San Fernando Valley. So I asked him if he was all right. He's like, "Hey man, I moved, but my family's good." It's like, "Okay man, that's good to know. Good to know you're getting safe."
Yeah.
And also just like weird things also happened. Lyric had one point said that like she wants to, as much as she loves Smash commentating, she wants to do things more with Pokemon.
Yeah.
And now
she's great. She's great
now,
at it.
And now where she's at now doing
that's true.
Doing that, freaking Shu now all of a sudden with LG. Like all these crazy things have happened. And I think it's funny to see people where they were in that point before they either hit their next stage in their journey, the next level up in their journey, or where they end up.
Right.
And like it's not expected I'm gonna get like this weird gotcha moment out of nowhere with some folks, but it's cool when that does happen. Mm-hmm. And it immortalizes where you are in that moment, and then you can come back and look and like, yeah, it's crazy that we were talking about that during that time frame, and now this is manifested after the fact. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's I think that's the best way I could put what you asked.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. and thank you. It does feel that way. I did feel like I had a good place to just let loose, be honest, as I usually am.
Yeah.
But like from the moment that I heard you like turn on your stream and how you were addressing people in your chat and how you conducted yourself, I felt quite at ease and comfortable. You know, I could trust you, and
I tried.
It feels nice. It feels nice.
Again, if this is not a place where people can feel comfortable telling the stories of who they are or the experiences that they've been through, then I'm not doing something right.
Right.
Like I've always been one of those folks that like people always talked to and talked about, or you know, was able to easily communicate with.
You are.
So I try to get that out there with people, and I try to make sure that people are comfortable with what they speak to, what frustrates them, what allows them to be in the position that they are. And if I can't set the stage for them to speak these stories, then there's no point in me doing this, right? Like if I wasn't trying to set that stage for where we're at right now, we probably wouldn't have gone on for almost, 2.5, 3.5 hours. You know what I mean? we wouldn't be at this place. Right. But I'm glad you had a great time. I had a great time. Dude, Serk, for real, thank you for taking the time for being here. It was great. It was a good time. I cannot stress that enough. I'm glad we had a chance to talk. So that way next time there's a SoCal event and we're both there, I can actually be like, "Hey, Serk, what's going on,
brother? ¿Qué pedo, güey? ¿Qué dice, compa?" Huevo, güey. Let's fucking go.
Oh, for real, man. Where I know already people they're going to see the links in the description, but where can they find you? Do you have any additional shout outs? Is there anything you want to leave us with before we actually cut it and sign off for the night?
No, again, it's just thanks to everyone that shows up that is there. I tried my absolute fucking best to be there for them as well, especially this year. It's been a year of change for me. Because I used to be like very loner, much of a loner. Like, yeah, I can do it on my own. Like, I don't need to burden anyone else. But I'm trying to change that because I know that for the people who care, it's not a burden. It's not heavy.
Mm-hmm.
And when you share a burden, it becomes much lighter. So, to those that hang around, that reach out, I appreciate you. Thank you very much. Los quiero mucho. I love you. Um, to you, thank you as well. And I had a lot of fun. It's been a while since I got the opportunity to speak up like this, and this was a very pleasing and very necessary as well. To be honest,
I'm glad.
I was burning a little bit to share a little bit of my piece, and yeah, I mean, you can find me Serk GMC everywhere. That's my socials are unified, so it shouldn't be an issue. I
Mm.
will see you in Eugene Bound 3 this
Hooray!
upcoming March in the Pacific Northwest once again, and then on April in Best of the West
All
3
right.
as well.
Hell
So
yeah.
lots of threes this year. So yeah, thanks for listening. Thanks for being there on every stream and every commentary block. I read you, I feel you, and I'm glad that we know each other.
So I'm glad I'm glad we were having this conversation, man. Actually, one last thing is there any one particular person do you want to give any kind of special shout outs to before we actually cut it out?
See, mi novia, my girlfriend.
There you go.
I mean, she knows. She's here. She knows I love her. La quiero mucho a la condenada chamaca cabrona. She's super patient with me. She's still here, I'm sure. So yeah, it's time for me to turn everything off and get to. Yeah, she's there. I know.
There she is. There she is. So I tried
play around.
I tried to make sure I extracted that so that you can hear it, right? So it's immortalized on stream.
Gracias, cabrón. I appreciate it. So yeah, just a little bit of that.
All right, man. Well, you take care. Enjoy your rest, man. Say goodbye. Wave goodbye to the stream.
Bye.
We'll be seeing you. Bye bye. Gang, thank you for being here. That was awesome. Thank you for Serk. Thank you, Serk, for being here. Everyone that came in through the chat, thank you. It means a whole lot to me. Era un orgullo tener a ustedes con nosotros esta noche. Yeah, love you guys. Thanks. Thank you for being here. If you missed the stream and you came at the very end, why'd you do that? We were on for such a long time. Catch the vibe when it comes through. And no, for real. No, gracias a ti, sir. Thank you for being here. I'm glad we were able to have a good time. We have our another guest lined up for the end of next month. We're gonna again, hopefully we'll be able to start pushing more of these more and more, but we'll grind on that when that happens. I'm gonna leave you all for tonight. It is getting very late, and I am getting tired because I am an old man. Everybody, thank you for being here. Thank you for hanging around. If you're watching the VOD, thank you. You made it this far. That's crazy. Subscribe. We need to eat too. That's right, man. That's right. We'll be seeing you. We'll leave you with some goodbye music. And until then, until the next one, we'll be catching you on the next one. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out. Later.